Hello everyone, this is your friend Naruto Nexus 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto, Sasuke and Ino started a family? Part 1. Ino, I heard that you like Sasuke. From now on we're rivals. Quote, Ino stood in front of the mirror, preparing herself for today, which was the day that she was going to be teamed up with Shikamaru and Choji since she was the heiress of the Yamanaka clan. It was also the day that Sakura would also try to become a genin. Ino still remembered that day when her best friend dropped their friendship for a boy. She liked Sasuke, too, and wouldn't mind that they both did since friends can like a boy without ruining their friendship. It's not like he's the only one who existed. But without even the sound of a gun clocking, Sakura pulled the trigger. What are you so upset about? A girl who looked similar to Ino asked at her bedroom door. They had the same face, except the other girl had a pixie haircut with her own side bang covering her left eye instead of her right. She was wearing a high-collared, unbuttoned, sleeveless dark purple blouse with her torso wrapped in bandages, and her elbows covered in mesh armor. Her pouch was connected to long black pants, and she wore the standard ninja footwear. I'm not upset. Ino sounded frankly defensive as she tied up her hair. And is that literally your outfit, Anoni? Why does it look similar to mine? The girl joshed. People gotta tell we're twins, but set us apart, sis. We don't want any mix-up when they start calling out who's who. I think your choice in hairstyle already does enough of that. Ino got up from her vanity table to walk out of her room, and the two headed out. I still wonder how in the world I ended up having a tomboy like you for a twin sister. Anoni crossed her arms behind her head as she teased, I still wonder how I ended up with the academy top student like you foe. A twin sister when all you wanna do is talk about boys and file your nails. Hey, girls can be both beautiful and dangerous. Just you watch me. I'll beat every kunoichi there is. Especially Sakura. Quote, speaking of disappointments, the twins stopped in front of their shop and saw Sakura coming their way. I'll save ya a seat, sis. The ninja student ran off quickly to the academy, knowing full well that her sister would be doing some idiotic race with her so-called rival, Sakura. Anoni was very well aware that the pink-haired girl did have the highest scores for written exams, but she wasn't anything special. Anoni honestly didn't see what Ino saw in that girl. When the tomboy sister got to the academy, she was welcomed by her childhood friends / Ino's slackers. Oh hey, Anoni. Choji greeted her. Ino's not with you. Nah. Fighting with Sakura like usual. Yo, lazy dear. She greeted Shikamaru. Ready to have a wild ride with my sister as your squad leader. Quote, the 12-year-old slacker genius groaned, it's such a drag. You're lucky you have a twin sister. If I did, I bet he'd be just as lazy as you, Shikamaru. Choji pointed out, giggling a bit when he imagined it. Whatever. Just let this day be over. I'm going back to sleep. He laid his head on his crossed arms, and fell to sleep with ease. Just then, Ino and Sakura burst in and were immediately fighting over who sat next to Sasuke. Anoni rolled her eyes. She was about to pull her sister away until she caught a glimpse of the class clown, Naruto, and Mr. Too cool for you, Sasuke smooching it up. She howled in laughter while the girls beat up poor Naruto for stealing their crush's first kiss. After Ino was done, she sat down in between her sister and Shikamaru since the spot was right behind Sasuke. Anoni telepathically talked to her, hopefully after this, you won't have to pretend to be his fangirl. Quote, who said I'm pretending? I'm serious about Sasuke. Yeah, as serious as Shikamaru is about training. Quiet you. Iruka began giving out the names for each team. Ino wasn't interested in knowing who was with who. She'd hate the girl who'd end up with Sasuke because she can't since it was her destiny to continue on with the Ino Shikacho tradition. Not that it was a bother at all. She was all for making her clan proud. She just wished it wasn't with Mr. Such a drag and the kind glutton. However, when Iruka called out for the members of Team 7, he said, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Ino Yamanaka. Ino called out, Wait, don't you mean Anoni? Quote, not at all. Their teacher of 4 years explained, as you must have known, the reason for why certain students are grouped together is because of their compatibility. Naruto has the lowest scores of the class while Sasuke has the highest in all scores except for cooperation. Something that you have excelled at, Ino. Yours, Choji's, and Shikamaru's parents have agreed that you would be better suited for this team while your twin sister, Anoni, who was the firstborn to begin with, will be placed in Team 10 with Shikamaru and Choji, and she will carry on the tradition of your clans instead. What? The clan members cried out in shock. Anoni was more out of anger before she slammed her hands on the desk and stood up. You have got to be kidding me. We weren't informed about this. What makes Mr. Golden Doofus and Emo Prince here special? My sister has been training her butt off to take on as the heiress of our clan, and because of some social rejects, she's stripped of that. Oi, shut up, Anoni, Naruto yelled at her. Sasuke was also pissed off, but kept his cool. Quiet, Iruka yelled out, and all the children obeyed. Anoni, your sister is still the heiress of your clan. Think of this as splitting your duties. As the firstborn, you shouldn't be exempt from your responsibilities to your clan, so your parents agreed that you will take on the tradition of upholding your clan's alliance while Ino will continue her training to be the one to take your father's place. Everything has already been decided, so sit back down, and not another peep. You understand. Anoni still wanted to argue, but Ino scolded her. Sit down, Anoni. You heard what Iruka-sensei said. Our parents decided this. Quote, the twins fiercely glared at each other. Don't tell me you want this. What? Is Sasuke that precious to you? You know better than that. At the sound of Ino's reluctant, yielding tone, Anoni regretted her mental outburst of anger. I'm sorry. She stomped out of the classroom despite Iruka's reprimanding cries. Ino wished she could do the same, but she was the good child. A part of her was happy that she teamed up with Sasuke, but a majority of herself was panicking. She had been mentally, emotionally, and physically training herself to pick up the slack of Shikamaru and Choji, so they could succeed. Now all of those years of hard work was flushed down the toilet, and what seemed to be worse was when she saw Sakura staring at her with horrified eyes. Her former childhood friend had been working hard as well to try to beat Ino at being a good kunoichi of ninjutsu and love. Sakura was far from ever beating Ino in ninjutsu, and now that she was teamed with Sasuke, it looked like the final blow of defeat to Sakura's ego. Ino felt both guilty and righteous for hurting her. She wanted to set things right, but unlike Anoni who was going to argue with their father, Ino knew everything had been case closed. After that ended, everyone filed out, and the teams were to meet their sensei in the afternoon. Shikamaru and Choji went with Ino to have their meals on the veranda at her place. What a drag. I can't believe they paired you up with those two. Anoni's right. This isn't fair to you, Ino. But I guess you must be pretty excited to be paired up with Sasuke. Quote. I guess. Ino let out a heavy sigh. What I mostly feel is terrified. What were my parents thinking? I bet Anoni's already getting down to the bottom of that. You guys already know my clan's sacred technique leaves me vulnerable, so I have to trust one of those two to watch over my body. I'd be overjoyed if Sasuke did that, but both him and that Naruto guy are close-ranged fighters. Then don't use it. Shikamaru reasoned. That technique wasn't meant to be used for battle anyway. Just learn your other clan's techniques, and if you need us, it'd be troublesome, but we'd help those guys learn how to support you. Really? Choji answered with his mouth full of chips. Of course. We were supposed to be your teammates, but even though we're not, doesn't mean we can't help each other out. Although, Shikamaru is the one who'll be helping you out mostly. Shikamaru sighed at that fact. Hearing this made Ino relax somewhat. She just hoped that their sensei was reliable, too. After finishing her lunch, she made her way to the classroom. Yet, she paused when she heard Sakura's voice loudly crying out. Ino quickly hid behind a tree, so as to not interrupt, but know what was going on. Sasuke, I love you. I always have since I first saw you. I know you barely know me, but I love you so much that I can't stand it. I'd do anything for you. Sakura confessed with all her heart. Ino didn't know how to feel about hearing this heartfelt confession. She liked Sasuke, too, but Anoni's teasing always made her wonder if her love was strong. Now hearing the love and desperation coming out of Sakura's voice really made her question her own love. Sasuke, shut up. Though it was just a second-long pause, the world seemed to stop time for the two girls listening to him. When the world did move, it felt like gravity increased its pull on their hearts and feet. It's like you said, I don't know you, so why would I care about anything you say? That was a rhetorical question. Sakura still tried to answer, but her mouth was left silently agape by his next words. You're annoying. Ino froze at those words. Her heart leapt to protect Sakura, but her legs remained frozen when she remembered what Sakura did to their friendship. Yes, Ino understood that her best friend wanted to get out of her shadow, but to end it the way she did. Ino still couldn't forgive her for that. She witnessed Sakura watch Sasuke leave her and then sat down on the bench crying. Ino wanted to comfort her, but she just remained where she was, and remembered the happier days of their friendship, but also the pain during the aftermath of when it was over. She felt justified in holding her grudge, and reasoned that she was also helping Sakura out by not looking like she pitied her as if she lost. Sakura cried for a good while that Ino thought she would be late for her meeting with her sensei, but Naruto came around, insistently asking her of what's wrong out of worry. However, he only upset her further, which earned him the role of her punching bag before she stormed off. Ino sighed at Naruto's lack of tact, but his caring attitude towards Sakura wasn't missed from her watchful eyes. She stepped away from the tree to look down at the harmed Naruto. She loudly sighed to show her disappointment. Hey Naruto, we have to get going. Huh? The blonde blinked at the female voice, and looked up from the ground where Sakura had him lay. Oh, it's you. Naruto grimaced at the sight of her. Just so you know, I'm not happy being on the same team as you either. He stubbornly declared. Ino didn't feel insulted since she saw Naruto as an immature boy, and as a future clan leader, she knew how to babysit immature boys. Yeah, come on. We're going to be late for class. MMH. Naruto blinked at her. What? Ino thought she had something on her face. Naruto looked at her suspiciously. HMPH. He snapped his head away from her and walked away indignantly. It was Ino's turn to blink at him. What was that about? Naruto had always been a weirdo to her. She saw him as the class clown like anyone else. She wondered how in the world did someone with no ninja talent like Naruto could have graduated from the academy. He was definitely going to be the weak link of their team in combat, but to be fair, she was also aware that he was an orphan. Unlike her, who had been trained since birth to be a strong and efficient ninja and leader by her father, Naruto practically had no one besides Iruka-sensei. So she figured that since Naruto was able to graduate, she could give him the benefit of the doubt. She followed him to the classroom where the other students were. Sasuke was already sitting and looking serious and mysterious as usual. Ino felt her face get a bit warm at the sight of his handsome face, but then she remembered what happened to Sakura earlier, so her feelings were a bit wary at the moment. She watched Naruto and him have eye contact. What happened earlier was fresh in their minds that they quickly looked away, trying not to vomit. Ino had the same feeling, but let it go. She looked around for her sister, and her eyes landed on Sakura, who was sitting with her new teammates. It was obvious that the girl had cried and was depressed, and Ino wanted to comfort her, but she knew better. It looked like her sister was nowhere to be seen, and Ino couldn't connect with her telepathically, so she just stood with Shikamaru and Choji. They asked where her sister was, and weren't surprised that she didn't know. They sighed, and waited. While they did, they were fully aware of their now former classmates' stares, especially the ones from the girls. The female eyes glared hatefully at Ino, who they thought just had to have everything. Ino Yamanaka belonged to a prestige clan who happened to be close and friendly with the Hokage's clan, and everyone knew that the Hokage's own favorite son would have been her sensei, which meant that their team was already a shoe-in to take the 4 genin team spots available. It didn't help that Ino wasn't just privileged, but she was practically the queen of the academy. Her and Sakura were the top beauties of the class that the boys from the younger classes were jealous of them for having such beautiful girls. And plenty of the boys argued about who was prettier. Sakura seemed to gain the most favors in beauty, so she was well recognized for her looks and her smarts, but her short and violent temper and lack of ninja skills weren't ignored. Ino may not be deemed the prettiest or smartest in the academy, but she was the most talented among them and the most likable. These being proven by her grades and her plentiful love confessions, which she turned down kindly. Everyone knew the blonde was sharp-tongued and flirtatious, but her bright and supportive personality mixed with her talents as a kunoichi made her an ideal girlfriend. Because of this, everyone thought Ino had more of a chance to be Sasuke's girlfriend. Now, they were just waiting for them to hook up, much to almost everyone's disapproval. Ino could hear all the girls loudly and encouragingly whispering to Sakura to not give up, and win Sasuke over, since they preferred her over Ino any day. This helped Sakura feel better and become determined again. The Yamanaka heiress ignored this since she was used to being bashed behind her back, and knew that acting ignorant was more hurtful than giving attention. Shikamaru glared at the girls while Choji showed Ino his support and concern. Soon the new Junin teachers arrived, and took their teams with them. When Asuma arrived to take Shikamaru and Choji, they gave Ino their good luck before leaving. The blonde watched everyone leave, which left her with her new teammates alone. She wasn't sure of what to do. She thought of being the usual her and playfully flirt with Sasuke, but the thought of Sakura made her not in the mood to do so. And Naruto seemed to not like her for some reason. She tried to think of what she may have said that would offend him, since she knew she had a loose tongue, but nothing came to mind. She decided the best thing to do was just sit down, and wait for their new teacher to break the ice. She knew it wasn't like her to sit out from being social, but she really had no idea of what to say. Sasuke looked Ino's way, surprised by her aloofness. He expected some annoying, loud, flirtatious holler, but he figured that this team-up really did jar her. He also heard the earlier girls loud whispering to Sakura to win him over, but he didn't care about that. He felt nothing for the blonde, who was simply a blank face to him among all the other female blank faces. But she did have some of his respect, since she did beat him in taking the top seat in the academy and was only second to him when it came to other skills other than cooperation. He thought that as long as she kept her annoying attitude down a level, then this team-up might actually work. Naruto was just complaining in his mind about how he was teamed up with the worst people. One was his greatest rival, and the other was the greatest rival of the girl he liked, the idiot fan of the guy he hated, and an all-around terrifying person. He believed that he really had the worst of luck. After an hour passed, Ino and Naruto were getting impatient. "Geez, did our sensei get lost on the way here?" Ino complained. Naruto stuck his head out the door and looked both ways. "See him? Nada. What the hell? Why is our sensei so late? Everyone already left with their sensei, and Iruka sensei also left." Naruto grimaced at this tardiness. Ino groaned while Sasuke just kept quiet. Then Naruto caught their attention when he began placing one of the chalkboard erasers at the top of the door, since a bucket of water wouldn't work. "Naruto, what do you think you're doing?" Ino questioned him, though it was obvious. Naruto chuckled. "That's what he gets for being late." Ino thought it was stupid, but it was a ridiculous sort of stupid, so she giggled. Sasuke also couldn't help letting out a laugh, PFF'd. As if a Junin would fall for such a stupid booby trap. Quote, "But it'd be hilarious if he did." Ino snickered at the thought. "Hey Naruto, maybe you can make it better if you added my perfume to it. Then if it was a guy, he'd be smelling like flowers." "Good idea. Gimme." "Hey, I didn't know you were into pranks." "No way. Pranks are so beneath me, but I will make exceptions." She spoke with a slight flirtatious tone, and sprayed the chalkboard eraser with her perfume. Let's see how our new sensei will like that. Sasuke covered a snort. He was also deeply surprised by the girl's willingness to get in on one of Naruto's pranks. He wasn't sure if she was literal or just acting to get on Naruto's good side. Their teammate prankster put back the eraser and they waited. It didn't take long for it to drop and make a mess on a silver-haired man's head. Naruto guffawed at his face. Ino giggled behind her hand while Sasuke was seriously questioning this guy. However, the bright mood was dropped when the man opened his mouth for the first time. How should I say this? My first impression is, I don't like you guys. That put a downpour on their moods, but Ino was quick to open her mouth to show her disapproval without a care if this man was a Jew. Nin. It's not like you made a good first impression. What sensei shows up 2 hours late to meet the team he's supposed to test if they're good enough to be genin? Punctuality is supposed to be one of your qualities as a Junin. Quote, you're a mouthy little girl, aren't you? The Junin commented calmly. If I remember correctly, you're the daughter of Inoichi, the #1 interrogator of the interrogation unit, and the head of your clan. I'm sorry to tell you, princess, but now that you won't be the one taking on the responsibility of continuing the tradition of your clan, you won't get the easy way out. Ino her pretty head to the side with piercing, blue eyes and a hard smile. Are you implying that I got to where I am out of privilege, and my clan's traditions don't care about the quality of their future leaders? If that is so, that is sadly very obnoxious of you to think, sensei. So here is my first impress. No, here's a piece of advice. Have the Hokage assign us a new sensei, because a man who can't do his own homework on his new squad members and shows up late, obviously doesn't have what it takes to make ninjas out of us. Quote, Naruto and Sasuke thought they heard a mic drop because Ino just let out the sickest beat down to their new sensei. Ino was actually panicking inside because as much as she applauded herself for being brave, she just mouthed off to a man that could kill her in a split second. That wouldn't be very mature or ethical, but this would lead to a lot more hardships than she was asking for. Now, their sensei was glaring right at her, and she knew the fear was evident in her eyes, but it was too late to back out now, so she just took a deep breath through her nose and did her best to not let the shaking of her legs behind the desk be evident. Kakashi approached her, and all their hearts stopped as their bodies froze at what he was going to do. The man came a little bit closer, and bent down to meet her at eye level. Ino's innocent blue eyes with specks of green in them were dilated when they met with the pupils filled with utter darkness. Her legs stopped shivering entirely, and she just waited for whatever was to come. Running away didn't look like an option. You. The man breathily growled. Everyone felt goosebumps, and Ino swore she just pissed herself a little and was glad she was wearing a pad to not soak her underwear. I like you. What? The students stared at him in complete shock. The man seemed to be smiling under his mask. He turned to the two males and proposed, now that I'm here, let's move somewhere a little less. Quote. He touched his head, which left the white chalky substance on his hand. Everyone could definitely smell the floral perfume. Chalky. The kids sported their best smiles for him. They all moved to a rooftop, and Kakashi told them to tell them their likes, dislikes, dreams, and other things. They had him introduce himself first. His name turned out to be Hatake Kakashi, who had no desire to tell them anything really. Ino felt annoyed, but she already played her tough card, so she was just going to let this day end with no more troubles. Kakashi then had Naruto go first, and other than his name, his likes and dislikes revolved around ramen and Iruka-sensei, which made Ino furrow her brows at his obsession with food. And my dream is to surpass the Hokage and then have the people of this village acknowledge my existence. Quote, acknowledge your existence. They already do that with how you go around doing pranks all the time, and how do you expect to be Hokage when you were dead last? Ino thought, breathing a sigh through nose, but she looked over to Naruto with open eyes. But you did graduate somehow, and you sure do have the energy to keep going. I still don't think you can be Hokage, but I'm willing to see how far you'll go. She felt a bit more interested and then a bit disappointed at the fact that his hobby was pranking. This boy definitely had no idea what it meant to be Hokage. It was Sasuke's turn, and Ino was all ears to hear something personally from him. He was always such a closed case that she truly didn't know what to expect. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. There are a lot of things that I don't like, and I don't really like anything. And, I can't really call it a dream, but I have an ambition. The resurrection of my clan, and. Ino's eyes widened and her face fell at his next words. To kill a certain man. Ino felt a chill. She knew about what happened to Sasuke's clan, but she didn't know the finer details. She couldn't properly figure out what to think about this when her turn was called. Oh. She relaxed herself to answer cheerfully to give a better impression to their sensei. My name is Yamanaka Ino. What I really love are flowers and the meanings they hold, and what I dislike are fatty foods and sashimi. My dream is to marry a handsome, intelligent guy. Oh, and my hobby is shopping. She is a young girl after all. Kakashi figured. He went on to tell them that they were going to start off tomorrow with survival training since only 12 graduated students will pass. Naruto and Sasuke were shocked, while Ino wasn't since she had been well informed already, but she did heed his warning to not eat breakfast. After they got their instructions, the meeting was over. Ino was worried since she didn't know what the test will be or if she would actually get along with her new teammates. It didn't hurt to try. Her heart wanted to talk to Sasuke first, but then the thought of Sakura made her hesitate once again. She knew she was being silly, but she couldn't help feeling like she would become a terrible person for taking advantage of the opportunity she had. She liked Sasuke, but she always knew she cared for Sakura more, and wanted her to be happy. However, the idea of holding herself back didn't sit right with her either. She finally reasoned that it was their business and she needed to be genuine with herself, too. So she called out to Sasuke just to say in her usual friendly, flirtatious way, "Hey Sasuke, let's do our best tomorrow." HN was the only sound he made as he walked off coolly. Though rude, Ino couldn't help falling for that bad boy attitude. She then turned to Naruto, who looked fired up to beat their new sensei. The girl found that ridiculous and somewhat cute in a way. She knew that she and Sasuke won't have a problem, but the teams required 3 people, so she figured she should try to get along with Naruto even though he didn't like her for some reason. Hey Naruto. The boy looked over to her, confused, and then suspicious. Don't look at me like that. She scolded lightly. I just wanted to say let's do our best tomorrow. Naruto still held his suspicious look, but it was needless to be rude and reject the cheer, so he just said with childlike caution, yeah, you too. Ino thought he was weird, but it was the best she could get. Gotta take baby steps since he wasn't Shikamaru or Choji. They went their separate ways. She went home, and she wasn't surprised to hear her sister yelling above the flower shop. Her mother was smart to close the store because the deep, monstrous yell that could raise itself as if a banshee was acting form would scare the customers away. She sighed as she made her way upstairs, and was greeted by Anoni having a shouting match with their father, who just came back from work early for this since doing it at night would disturb their neighbors. From the look of how red Anoni's face was, they had been at this for almost 10 minutes. I don't give about what you guys think is best, cause all of this is bullshit. I am trying to explain to you that we just wanted you to take some responsibility as the firstborn of the Yamanaka clan. We're not in the old age. You treat these traditions as if they're written in stone. But when something doesn't go how you like it, you'll do whatever do ya like. Ino just went to the kitchen to help her mother prepare dinner. She was making food that wouldn't stain or leave crumbs on sheets in case Anoni was going to eat in her bedroom. Usually a parent wouldn't let their child speak so rudely to them, but discipline that would bind or beat a child to become good-mannered wouldn't work on Anoni, who only became violent. and more determined to argue for her beliefs. The only way to handle this was by stubbornly arguing with her until she's done. This harsh ritual actually helped keep their father on his toes and continued to endure hours of arguments and other problems during interrogations. When it finally settled down after another 10 minutes, the family sat down for dinner. Their father asked Ino with cautiousness, trying to sound casual, "So Ino, how was your first day with your new sensei? I heard that it was Kakashi Hatake. He's a very talented ninja, so you're going to learn a lot from him." After the first impression that guy gave, Ino highly doubted that. "Whatever you say, Dad, it wasn't so bad. I'm still shocked that you made such a decision without consulting me first. You betrayed not only my trust but also my privacy. I understand that how teams are chosen is out of my hand, but the least you could have done was alert me." Quote. Anoni was about to add to that, but her mother covered her mouth. Her father had the decency to look genuinely guilty. "I know, and I deeply apologize, but this decision was made last minute. You should understand that assigning teams is a heavy task since your teachers and the others involved have to consider every aspect of a student and pair them with the most suitable teammates. Otherwise, we may lose good ninjas along the way. You being teamed up with Shikamaru and Choji were decided and was meant to happen, but the Hokage himself needed a born leader." Quote. Anoni opened her mouth before it could be covered again, so the guy played favorites. Her father held back his voice. The Hokage was taking into consideration the future of all ninja children, and you, Anoni, could use some lessons on being a leader since Shikamaru and Choji are going to need you to be their leader. You're not the type to let family down, so accept this. His daughter glared at him, but she kept silent. He then looked back at Ino, and from what I hear, Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki were teamed up because the Uzumaki boy will need all the help he needs from someone who can pull his weight, but the Uchiha boy isn't a team player. That's why you were chosen, Ino. You have to be the glue for this team." Ino felt a strong yet soft feeling of pride yet discomfort for this new role she didn't prepare herself for. "If that's what the Hokage needs me to do, then I guess I have no choice. But it's not going to be easy. Sasuke and Naruto hate each other's guts, and you say that Kakashi guy is great, but he's seriously weird. He made us introduce ourselves but he didn't say anything about himself. And he was even late. And fell for a stupid prank pulled by Naruto. I swear, not even Sasuke would make things easier in this team. And so, Ino went on full gossiping and ranting mode during dinner while everyone else either made a comment or simply ate their dinner in peace. Underscore. The next morning, Ino considered the threat that Kakashi made that she would puke if she didn't eat breakfast. Well, real ninjas would end up starving in real missions, and the guy might actually come on time this time, so she told her mom that she wouldn't have breakfast. But her mother insisted that she at least eat an apple since even ninjas without food would scavenge for some. Her mother quickly sliced the apple in half, scooped the seeds out, and gave one half to Ino while the other went to Anoni, who was also told to go light on her meal. The twins took them and ate them on the go. I don't wanna do this. The tomboy twin whined. You were going to do this whether you were paired up with those slackers or not. But I have to listen to lazy deer whine and see Fatso fill his mouth. Like why does the Yamanaka always have to be the one responsible for these rejects? Ino sighed, agreeing with her sister, but also encouraging her. It can't be helped. The Yamanaka clan's hidden jutsus require us to have beauty, brains, and strength both inside and out. It's the price for being part of a prestigious clan. No wonder all the girls hate us. Dad did say he was pretty popular with the girls like your precious Emo was. Hey, that Emo has a name you know. Sasuke. Sasuke. Ino sounded it out for her twin to say it, but Anoni didn't bother. Whatever. Just don't go falling for him for reals. You know the clan's rules. I know. Ino really didn't need a reminder since she always reminds herself. Just let me enjoy this at least. Girls like me can't help falling for the cool boy after all. She couldn't help blushing a little at the thought that she was going to see Sasuke soon. And pink-haired loser. Quote. The blush quickly faded away when the fresh memory of Sakura being rejected came back. She shook it off and yelled, "Hey! No one but me can call that billboard brow a loser. And if she still wants to fight for Sasuke's affections, I won't stop her. But she better fight harder since I'm in the lead. Anyway, your test is that way, so see you if I don't get a date with Sasuke after we pass." Anoni stuck her tongue out in disgust before playfully grinning as she ran towards her destination. Ino went to the training grounds where she was not surprised to see Sasuke already present. Naruto was nowhere to be seen yet, which is no surprise since it's actually 15 minutes before the designated time. Sasuke. She gushed the name. Sasuke was used to being called in such a way, so he just spared her a glance before stoically greeting, "Hey." Ino felt her inner self squeal at his absolute coolness. She continued on with the conversation happily, "Looks like Naruto isn't here. Let's hope that guy shows up or I'm going to break down his door and give him an earful. Let's also hope our sensei comes here on time, too. Maybe he did have a mission before he had to come see us. My dad called him a great ninja, but he's still really weird but also really scary. I didn't think I would come out alive after my whole show of bravado. I just couldn't help it after he insulted me like that, you know." Ino got comfortable at one of the wooden posts. Sasuke didn't say a word, which she didn't mind. She just went on to say, "I just hope our sensei is serious about training us, because if he isn't, then that means that I'm going to have to train Naruto myself to get him at our level, or we won't even pass the Chunin exams with him on board. That idiot never listened in class, and just like Iruka sensei said, he has the lowest grades. But I'll give him credit that he has more energy than me, that I get tired just looking at him. He also seems to not like me for some reason. We're going to have to work on that. Do you want to join us train, Sasuke?" Quote. Sasuke looked over at her, looking like he heard but didn't compute. Ino paraphrased her words, "I asked if you'd like to train with me and Naruto if our sensei is hopeless. Even if Naruto doesn't want to, I'll drag his sorry bum to this training field if I have to." Quote. "You talk a lot," Sasuke commented. Ino was surprised by that, but didn't take offense to it since boys are dumb about girls. Surprisingly, Anoni was as well, but oh well. She giggled, "Of course, silly. Girls have a ton of things to say since they pay attention to more details than guys do. But if you need peace and silence, I don't mind just humming to myself." She placed her finger in front of her lips and winked. Sasuke didn't react at all, but that was okay. "So training, you, me, Naruto." Sasuke looked away as he answered, "I guess if we do want to pass the Chunin exams, I'll join. That loud idiot might be more than you can handle." Quote. "Oh please. Have you met my sister? If it weren't for me, she would have just run off with Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji and Kiba to cause chaos. Training Naruto should be a breeze. It could also help if we figure out a strategy to incorporate my Yamanaka clan's skills with your Uchiha skills in Naruto's Naruto." She said that in the kindest way she could. "I'm still pretty slow with doing my clan's most prized jutsu, the mind transfer jutsu. It will let me transfer my mind into someone else's mind. However, the drawback is that it takes time to build up the chakra, so I need my target to stay still, because if I miss, I won't be able to wake up for a while. That would be bad during a mission, but I guess I could focus on my clan's other jutsu to help us out." Quote. "That might be a good idea. The Uchiha clan's jutsu don't specialize in binding anyone down, and I doubt that idiot could do it without endangering his own life." Ino was saddened by this since she worked really hard to master that jutsu, which Anoni did get a hang of, but wasn't pleased with the risks that came with it. "I guess for the time being, I should work on my taijutsu. I would really like some pointers from a genius like you, Sasuke." She flirted, but was really honest. It would be a bonus to learn from Sasuke. Hey, Sasuke couldn't help the small chuckle that came out. He was really surprised by the conversation they were having. He was honestly suspecting her to just try to flirt with him until he agreed to date her, but instead they were talking about training. He was about to say something, but then the cry of an idiot caught their attention. Hey, I'm here. You didn't start without me, did you? Naruto looked out of breath after running all the way to them. Ino got on her feet to scold him. No. But you almost were. Aren't you aware that you should arrive earlier than the designated time? Hey, sorry. I stayed up late, and my alarm clock. No excuses. Geez. You do know that our fate as ninjas hang in the balance today, don't you? What would have happened if our sensei actually came early, and disqualified us because of you? Hey, he's not here, so there's no need to be so loud in the morning. Quote, of course I have to be loud. You had Iruka sensei yelling at you to pay attention than actually teaching. She pulled his ear. So you better listen up, and don't be late next time. So what? Our sensei is late himself. Naruto pulled away, and held his pounding, red ear. That may be only a one-time thing. Sasuke watched as the two bickered over Naruto's sloppiness. Eventually the two got tired of yelling at each other, and got comfortable at the wood posts in silence. It remained that way for almost half an hour before Naruto began to complain and Ino told him to suck it up. That just made Naruto complain about earlier and how Ino was wrong. Ino got mad, but quickly took the mature route since she knew that arguing would result in nothing. Instead she admitted her mistake, and for Naruto to just wait a bit longer. They did, and after 10 silent minutes passed, Naruto started to doze off to sleep. Ino smacked his cheek lightly to stay away. It took another 5 minutes before their sensei finally came. Hey guys. Good more. You're late. Ino and Naruto yelled. I seriously thought you had an excuse yesterday, but you're just irresponsible. Ino roared. Right. What she said. You don't take us seriously, do you? Naruto's nose flared. Sorry. Anyway, let's begin your survival training. The man had them step away from the wooden posts so he could place a timer on one of them. He then explained to them that their goal was to take away 2 bells from him, and only 2 were most likely to not be returned back to the academy. Ino figured that Naruto would be the one to go. That prediction felt more true when he tried to attack their sensei before it began. Yet, the man was fast. Something Ino has witnessed with the many times her father trained her. When it did begin, they scattered off to hide. Well, except for Naruto, who was being an absolute moron. Ino most definitely could see Naruto being tied to a wooden post, and then going back to the academy. Why, where Iruka sensei would give him the lecture of the lifetime. She inwardly sighed as she watched him horribly fail with his lame taijutsu techniques. She gasped when the man appeared behind Naruto and formed a hand seal. Ino quickly called out for him to run away before he was killed. However, it was just a powerful ass poke that made Ino once again question whether her team will survive even with Sasuke on board. She knew that she was placed on this team to keep it together, but wasn't that the sensei's responsibility? Tie in the first place. Did they run out of Junins, so they had to rely on her? She just hoped that Anoni and the rest were doing better than her. Ino was suddenly snapped out of despair when she saw Naruto pull off a jutsu where there were multiple clones of him, and they didn't look like an Ilu. Scion. What? Naruto then pulled a clever trick to sneak up behind Kakashi to get a hit in. However, the guy had switched himself with one of Naruto's clones, and the idiot ended up beating himself up before realizing he could just release the jutsu to see the truth. Ino felt pity. She felt it more when he thought he found a bell left unwatched, but instead got caught by a rope that left him hung upside down. Seriously, Naruto. Did Iruka sensei teach you nothing? How did you even graduate? Well, I guess that jutsu was pretty good. I never saw something like that before. It looks like Naruto does have a few tricks up his sleeve and can be pretty clever. Too bad he's as dumb as Choji, or that plan could have worked and he wouldn't have fallen for such an obvious trap. I would honestly want to have Choji on my team instead of you, and I don't want to lose Sasuke, but Shikamaru has the jutsu that could bind him down. The three of us would have worked together to get Kakashi trapped in Shikamaru's jutsu, and I would use my mind jutsu to possess him since Shikamaru has a time limit for how long he can hold onto someone. Then if any of us had to leave, I bet Shikamaru would be the first one on board. I don't want to lose my chance in being a ninja, and neither does Naruto and Sasuke. So of course, we wouldn't be working together like I would with Choji and Shikamaru for those bells. Now that I think of it that way, I actually sound pretty selfish. But do I want to face the shame of returning to the academy despite how hard I worked? Of course not. But if I ever did learn something from the academy, it was that these sorts of tests are supposed to simulate a real mission, right? This is survival training, meaning that if the three of us were in the position where only the two of us can get those bells from the enemy to succeed in, then the one who doesn't will. But ninjas are about sacrifice. I don't want to lose. But I know what I have to do. Just as Ino came upon a realization, Sasuke had launched his weapons at their sensei with the intention to kill. However, that one was also an illusion, which meant that Sasuke's position was blown. Ino's heart panicked for him, but she quickly knew that she couldn't handle their sensei if even Sasuke couldn't face him. She thought quickly and decided to head to Naruto first to set him free. There wasn't exactly a plan, but the three of them together could slightly even the odds to at least survive this round. Plus, she needed the three of them together to hopefully get a real plan in action. She cautiously went over to him, and quietly called out to him. Naruto. Ino. Shish. I'm gonna get you down from there. She threw her kunai in a way to help Naruto fall away from the trap. Ow. Shish. Do you want to get caught by sensei again? Come on. She pulled him away to a hiding spot. Kakashi saw this as something interesting, and decided to let those two play together while dealing with the Uchiha boy. Oi, what are you doing? Naruto questioned in a whisper. I'm trying to save both our butts. Ino thought about getting Sasuke, but he must already be facing their sensei. Plus, there wasn't much time left. She considered her options. She could either still go look for Sasuke, and let time be up before any of them got a bell, or she could just work with Naruto, so the two of them got bells, and leave Sasuke to return to the academy. Ino remembered his promise to kill a man, and she couldn't entirely grasp that kind of goal, but she didn't want Sasuke to lose his chance to achieve vengeance. Then she cooked up a plan. She looked to Naruto. Hey, can you use the jutsu you used earlier to make a bunch of you, because I'm going to need them? Why? And why should I listen to you? Just listen. She snapped. There isn't much time, so just do as I say, okay? She roared viciously that Naruto shrunk back in fear. Okay. Geez. Good. Now, here's the plan. After she told him, they searched for Sasuke, and they saw a huge ball of fire come to life. Ino felt her legs quiver in fear, but Sasuke was over there, and she had Naruto by her side, so she had to run that way. When she reached there, she saw Kakashi talking to Sasuke, whose body was buried in the ground. She let that distract her for a second before she threw her weapons. The man dodged them, but he appeared real enough for Ino to attack. She charged with all she got from the academy to get the man defenseless against the four Narutos that appeared in different directions. One of them jumped in front of him and wrapped his legs around his head to cover his eyes, while the other slammed his hands against his ears, and the third one grabbed his legs. Ino kept his hands in the leg closest to the bells locked for the third Naruto to get one of the bells, while Sasuke, who was able to pull himself out, also aimed to take one. However, Ino was thrown at Sasuke, and the four Narutos burst into smoke after the Junin stabbed them with his kunai. A panting Ino was bewildered by this. Wait, they were all shadow clones. Kakashi answered, it appears so, but I know where the real one is. Excuse me. He walked away to get the real Naruto. Ino felt too shocked to be enraged by what Naruto did. The boy followed every direction he gave her, except that the real him had to stick with her. Perhaps they were going to fail anyway, but this betrayal hit her pride. Ino, are you alright? Sasuke questioned as the two got up. The girl tiredly answered with a tone sounding like she wanted to whine, yeah. I just thought my plan would work, but looks like I'm just as clever as Naruto. That idiot. I told him to stick with me. And now where is he? I hope that after this, he's tied to one of those posts and left to starve. Don't sell yourself short. You did pretty good out there. Yeah, well, that good enough isn't going to make us genin. She walked to the post since it was going to be time up soon. Think about how humiliating it will be when the heiress of the Yamanaka clan returns back to the academy while my sister and her team goes on to take on the Chunin exams. That's never happened before. I should have just went to find you instead. Then maybe we could have come up with a reliable plan. I bet you were closer to getting those bells than us. Sasuke didn't comment on that. He never even thought of working together. The two reached the posts, and to no one's surprise, Naruto was tied to one of them. Ino gave him the stink eye as she took her place at one of his sides. Naruto just glared at the ground with a scowl. Sasuke just sat down on the other side. Ino didn't know what their sensei would say about their failure, but he really took it too far when he seriously told them to quit as ninjas since they didn't deserve the position. Ino couldn't help agreeing with him for a second due to how bad she failed earlier, but she quickly reminded herself that she had the potential to be a good ninja. It's just that she still needed a bit more training to handle this kind of situation. She couldn't fail her clan. Naruto was yelling, and he would have charged at the guy, but instead Sasuke took that charge. He was taken down easily with the man's foot on his head. Hey, get your foot off his head, you jerk. Ino demanded. Their sensei ignored her, and instead questioned why they were made into teams and the point of this training. He looked at Ino. I believe only you truly knew the answer. No surprise considering you were raised in a clan that depends on it. Quote, what? Ino knows. Naruto looked back and forth to Ino and their sensei quickly. It's teamwork. The heiress answered, and explained why she knew. The Yamanaka clan has a traditional alliance with the Nara and Akamichi clan, and it's expected of the firstborns or anyone closely blood related to the successors of the clans to become a team, and perfect the traditional techniques that formed the alliance in the first place. I don't get it. Naruto didn't see the connection. To put it simply for idiots like you, she answered spitefully, Kakashi-sensei wanted us to work as a team, so we can get the bells. Because in the real ninja world, a majority of our missions will be spent in a team. Exactly. Kakashi agreed. Naruto caught on, but he noticed something wrong. But hey, there's only 2 bells. What teamwork? One of us was just going to be thrown under the bus anyway. Of course. This test is purposely set up to make you fight among yourselves. Kakashi carried on the lesson. The purpose is to see whether you can forget about your own interest and successfully work together under these circumstances. The only one who was willing to do that among you was Ino. Naruto, you were just running around by yourself. Sasuke, you just assumed the others would get in your way and tried to do everything by yourself. Ino's mistake was trusting in either of you to be there for her. If she had been with the team she was originally meant to be in, that wouldn't have been a mistake since they understand that the duties are done by the team. Of course, superior individual ability is important to a ninja. But what's even more important is teamwork. Individual play that disrupts the team can put your comrades or your own life in danger. For example, Kakashi held a kunai to Sasuke's throat. Ino, kill Naruto or Sasuke dies. Ino was mildly shocked at the order, but it was just an example. Naruto however panicked since he thought he was serious. You see, he finally got off the Uchiha. If a hostage is taken, you will have tough choices and then die. You will be risking your lives in these duties. He then walked over to the stone monument where he explained that the names carved there were the names of heroes who had died under the line O.F. duty. Ino was well aware of that since members of her clan were on that stone as well. Apparently, even their sensei's best friend's name was on it, too. Next he told them that they had one more chance after lunch. Only Ino and Sasuke were allowed to eat since Naruto ditched Ino to eat the meals without them. Anyone who fed him would immediately fail. Ino had no problem letting Naruto starve after the stunt he pulled no matter how much he apologized. But soon, Sasuke suddenly decided to give him some. Here. This shocked the blondes. Ino cried out, "What?" But Sasuke, sensei just saw. "Don't worry," he told her, "I don't sense him near here. After lunch, we'll work together and get the bells." Quote, "What are you talking about? Can we really trust him?" She turned her attention to Naruto. "How could you just ditch me to get food? Hey, I left you some clones like you said, didn't I?" He defended himself. But Ino quickly broke down that armor. "The point of you giving me those clones was so we could undermine our sensei. We were supposed to work as a team. I trusted you to have my back, but the only thing you cared about was filling your belly. If this was real instead of a simulation, I bet you would have just left me for dead at the hands of the enemy." She pointed at him. "I knew you were a scoundrel, Naruto, but I didn't think you'd be the type to abandon the people who needed you. Quote, you would have just gotten those bells for yourself. You were just using me, making me think that I would be the one to get the bell, but you were just going to backstab me and get it for yourself." Punch. Ino punched Naruto hard enough for him to have cut his lip. "If that's the kind of person you think I am, then maybe the adults were wrong in putting me in this stupid team." "They weren't." Sasuke spoke up, and told Naruto, "I saw it for myself. If you had actually been there, Naruto, you would have seen that Ino actually sacrificed herself so the two of us could get the bells. I was too far to reach, and she saw how bad your taijutsu was earlier, so she knew that you wouldn't have been able to hold down Kakashi. Maybe if you were more capable of it, she would have used you. So be glad you're terrible." Ino yelled at the blonde. "And I bet after lunch, you'll still mess up like the goofball you are. And I don't want Sasuke to lose his chance at being a ninja. I don't want to either, but one of us has to go, and that person is the one who can distract sensei. My parents will cry, but I hate it more if we don't at least try to take down that stupid sensei of ours and show him who's boss." She really didn't want to lose, but she knew none of these boys would willingly be the sacrifice. So she figured that they could at least stick it to the man before she's dragged down. "So you better not stab my back a second time, or I'll stab these chopsticks into where you wouldn't want them to. Hear me?" "Ah, yes ma'am," Naruto answered. "Man, she's scary. Okay, so let's make up a plan while we eat. Any ideas, Sasuke, since mine didn't go so well?" She looked to the genius. But Naruto reminded them, "Hey wait, I'm tied up, so I can't use my hands to eat." Quote, Ino felt annoyed, but it couldn't be helped. "Fine. Here. Thanks." Naruto opened his mouth to accept the tasty rice, but before he could eat it, their sensei arrived, and passed them. "Huh, pass." Ino arched an eyebrow. Then Kakashi went on to tell them that they were the first students that he ever passed since the students before them just did as he said. A ninja must see underneath the underneath. Those who break the rules and codes of the ninja world are called trash, but you know what? Those who don't take care of their comrades are lower than trash. That sounded pretty cool, but Ino was just relieved that she didn't have to return to the academy. And thus, that was the end of the survival training and the beginning of her adventure as a genin with Naruto and Sasuke. _______________________ This is what I believe would have gone down if Ino was part of Team 7. Unlike Sakura, who has no formal training or clan customs, Ino was raised by them, so she was formally trained and taught the importance of teamwork. I also believe she was actually low-key hated by many of the females in her class, which became more evident after being teamed up with Sasuke. Plus, I believe she isn't as crazy over Sasuke as Sakura is. She does think he's a catch, but nothing to truly obsess over like Sakura does. She's actually more interested in making the team work because Sasuke and Naruto aren't friends like Shikamaru and Choji, and Kakashi appears very unreliable. As the heiress of the Yamanaka clan, she has to prove she is worth the position while also living her life as a girl. The day after the survival training, the new Team 7 were to start their duties as one of the 4 new Genin teams. Team 10 had also passed their survival training easily since they just had to team up and try to use their jutsu against Asuma-sensei successfully. With Shikamaru's lazy smarts and Anoni pushing them, they were able to do it. Another team that passed was Kiba's team with Hinata and Shino. Anoni was close friends with Kiba, so she knew about how they succeeded in a hunting survival training exercise. Ino wondered who was the 4th, but she had other matters to attend to such as making her new team work. Good luck, Anoni told her as they were about to separate. They were both going to be at the Hokage's office at different appointment times, and knowing the lazy bums, Team 10 was definitely later. Before her twin left, Anoni deviously grinned as she said, "You're gonna need it." Quote, "Oh, just leave." Ino waved off her needless warning, and went off to the Hokage's office. She was pleasantly surprised to see that both Sasuke and Naruto were present. "Hey guys." She ran up to them excitedly, and she couldn't help flirtatiously greeting, "Hey Sasuke. It's our first day as Genin." Excited. "We won't be Genin for long." He determined. Ino couldn't help squealing inside by how cool he was. Then she noticed Naruto, who was looking nervous as if he needed to say something. "Hey, Naruto. What's up? Don't tell me you're nervous." He flinched at those words. "No, I'm not. I'm excited. I'm super excited. Just watch me. I'll blow you all away that you'll be eating my dust for days. Just you watch. I'm gonna be Hokage. Believe it." Ino didn't think much about that, and saw that Naruto was still nervous. She decided to just let him be since he wasn't going to open up to her of all people anyway. She still didn't know why he didn't like her. "Hey Naruto." She called out to him. I get why you don't like Sasuke, but why don't you like me? I mean, you don't have to like me, but I don't think I did anything to you personally to make you dislike me. What's up with that? Or was it Anoni who did something to you, and you thought it was me? We kinda look alike, but Anoni has terrible acting skills. I doubt you're that dumb enough to mistake the two of us. Quote, "How I feel about you has nothing to do with your animal of a sister. It's just." Naruto looked away with a guilty expression. Then it clicked with Ino. "Ooh, don't tell me that you're actually guilty about what you did yesterday. Leaving me all alone with your clones to fight off Sensei while you traipsed all the way to eat food without us." She couldn't help saying teasingly, but changed her attitude at the childish guilty expression that the boy pulled off. "Just so you know, I'm over it. I get it that you and Sasuke don't have the team training that I received since I was a kid. But that's why I'm here. So Naruto, if you need any advice or help, you can come to me." She then flirtatiously smiled over at Sasuke. "I bet you don't have to ask me anything, Sasuke, since you're a genius after all. But if you want to ask me out on a date, I'm free after this." Sasuke ignored her, which made Ino believe he was just being shy. Oh, she knew she had it bad. The appointment was going to start soon. However, their sensei was nowhere to be seen. Ino figured this would happen, but she was still heavily disappointed. She really needed to lecture that man. However, just at the last minute, the man arrived just in time. It seems that if the Hokage is involved, then the weirdo was willing to make it in time. And thus, they were given their first mission of making some deliveries, then they were to babysit some kids for a few hours, search for some lost items, and walk some dogs. It was a hectic day since Naruto apparently loved to try to show off by trying to deliver everything quickly, but that only led to giving the mail to the wrong persons, entering a war with the children, breaking the lost item, and then unsuccessfully trying to walk the Argist, laziest dog, only to get squashed under it. These tasks were menial for Ino, who did chores, but Naruto made them even more troublesome. After reporting to the Hokage that their tasks were done, they were dismissed. Their sensei left them, and Ino became concerned with the lack of actual training from the man, but she supposed taking baby steps were the way to go. It was still the middle of the afternoon, which still left time to do. She was tired, and just wanted to relax, but she did set a goal for herself to help Naruto reach up to her and Sasuke, so they could pass the Chunin exams since their sensei seemed to be not that interested. But before she could invite her teammates for some training, a surprising and unwanted voice squealed, "Sasuke. Hey." Sakura ran up to them. Sasuke just ignored her, but to Ino's surprise, Naruto's face lit up and his cheeks went flushed at the sight of the pink-haired intruder. "Oh, hey, Sakura. What brings you here?" Sakura looked faintly disappointed at being greeted by Naruto instead. But she kept her smile to appear cute. "Oh, I just finished my duties as a new genin today. I figured I'd see you guys here." At the word, genin, Ino was astounded. "You passed." Sakura grinned towards Ino's way. "Of course. I was the one who passed with the highest score in the written exam. Passing the survival training was a breeze for a beautiful intellectual like myself." A part of Ino was proud, but a part of her believed that the major reason must be her teammates, since Ino recognized them to be pretty good back at the academy. "Wow. That's amazing, Sakura. So that means we're both genin." Naruto couldn't be any happier. Ino couldn't help feeling sorry for that hopeless boy, since Sakura obviously only had eyes for Sasuke. Yeah. Sakura was intently looking towards Sasuke's way. Ino felt annoyed by that, so she decided to be the sneaky bitch she was. She slyly her arms around Sasuke's own, and flirtatiously said, "Genin, you say? Well then that means you should be serious about training with your team like we are. We were about to go train, weren't we, Sasuke?" Sasuke looked at her, and he could tell that Ino was just trying to make Sakura jealous, but he played along since training was next on his schedule. "Sure." Quote. Sakura was enraged. Ino went on to wring in a confused Naruto's arm as she announced, "So we're gonna go now. Bye." She pulled the boys away, and gave a triumphant grin back at Sakura, who was definitely burning hot inside. When they got out of sight, she let them go. Naruto was just weirded out, but he got the definite feeling that Sakura wasn't pleased, so he wasn't either. "Hey, what was that about? Are we actually training?" Quote. Ino answered, "I'm honestly worn out from watching you today, but since it looks like our sensei isn't serious about training us, we have to make our own team training schedule. We should at least do this once every 2 days, with day offs being an exception, since I'd like to have a break from ing you." That comment made the whisker-faced boy growl, but the Yamanaka carried on speaking, "This way we can incorporate my Yamanaka skills with your guys' own. Today, we're going to show each other what our strengths and weaknesses are. Not that I think you have any weaknesses, Sasuke." She complimented the boy who just ignored her again. "So let's go." "What? But I'm starving. Can't we at least have lunch first?" Good point. Ino completely forgot about lunch since she was on a diet. "Any good places in mind?" Ooh, Ichiraku's. That place." Ino looked at him unimpressed. "What?" The boy crossed his arms, feeling insulted that Ino referred to it as some disappointing place. "What's better than Ichiraku's? I can name plenty, but I guess it is both delicious and cheap. It wouldn't hurt to just have one bowl. Want to eat ramen, Sasuke?" The boy just shrugged. Naruto gave him the stink eye, and told him in a shoo-away tone, "You don't have to come." Quote. Ino scolded him, "Don't talk to Sasuke that way. We're going to train after this, so we're eating together. Got that?" Naruto was really getting annoyed with this girl. He just childishly whipped his head away, stuffed his hands in his pockets, and walked off towards the ramen shop. Ino sighed and followed while Sasuke walked beside her. The three of them ate ramen for lunch before heading to the training grounds. There, Ino figured they should start with displaying their techniques. Naruto, you don't belong to a clan with a special jutsu as far as I'm aware, and you also graduated dead last. Do you really have to say it? Naruto yelled at her. I'm saying it, so you would take this training seriously, and no goofing off like you did back at the academy. We're depending on you to be there for us during a mission, so start showing us some loyalty. Ino clarified to him without noticing Naruto's dejected expression. This didn't go unnoticed by Sasuke. Though her words were true, it wouldn't do good for the team if she ran her mouth and made Naruto feel bad. Hey Ino, can I talk with you in private for a second? Okay. She followed him after ordering Naruto to not go anywhere. So what is it? The Uchiha answered, I just wanted to let you know that what you said to Naruto was true, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but you have to cut him some slack. Despite how he looks and how he acts, he is trying in his own way. But even a confident guy like him can be cut down, so if you really want this team to work, it's best that you watch what you say. Quote, Ino was surprised by the scolding she received from her crush, but she also felt glad to hear it despite how it hurt her pride a bit. Sasuke was in the right. Oh, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Everyone always tells me that I have a loose tongue, so I end up hurting people even though I only may. Well, I guess I am being a bit too harsh on Naruto. I guess I should apologize. But I'm really surprised that you noticed, Sasuke. I always thought you were really aloof to others, but you actually do watch over your teammates. I think I fell for you even more. She blushed lightly from her confession. Whatever. Let's go back to see if the idiot didn't run off scared. Naruto running off scared. Ino giggled. Knowing what I know of him, he'd run into trouble. Quote, Sasuke held back a chuckle, and Ino got a glimpse of his smile. She felt her face become bright pink at the sight of the smile. She guessed Naruto's idiocy was quite funny. They soon reached back to the spot, and saw that Naruto was still sitting where he was earlier. Ino caught a glimpse of a sad expression, and guilt overtook her. Knowing that apologizing right now would seem superficial, she decided to just move on with the lesson. We're back. She let him know first. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts, and reverted back to his hot-blooded self. Hey, what did you guys have to go talk all secretly about? It was grown-up talk. Something you'll understand once you stop being such a trickster. She teased him, yet she added, but I guess it isn't so bad that you act like a child because you wouldn't be as deviously clever as you are now anymore. Naruto noticed the compliment, and as someone weak to compliments, he blushed a bit, and gloated about how clever he was. It looked like he was cheered up thankfully. Ino then started the training. Okay, I guess we can start now. Well, first off, we're a team that don't really know each other, so we have to figure out our strengths and weaknesses to make up for it. She went on to inform Naruto about how her clan specializes in jutsu that involves the mind. A beginner in the Yamanaka clan would first learn to sense other people's chakra to have a better lock on them. Ino was able to sense people at least in a 5-mile radius for now. She was also able to telepathically communicate with the people within the 5-mile radius. Although with her twin sister, she can sense and talk to a noni anywhere. Sasuke commented that those two talents would prove useful during a mission when searching for a target and if their communication devices don't work. He asked Ino to demonstrate her abilities, and she was able to accurately tell where certain squirrels, bugs, and even plants were. She relayed this information to them telepathically, which really weirded Naruto out. Although she also informed them that doing telepathic communication while moving rapidly is still difficult for her since she hadn't mastered that level of focus and control. She then went on to show them her clan's mind transfer jutsu, and demonstrated it by having Naruto catch a squirrel, and hold it in place. She did it successfully much to the boys' amazement. She also let them know. There's other jutsu where I can disrupt a person's movement and make them turn on their teammates without having to possess them. Naruto was starry-eyed by it. Whoa. No way. Your clan's techniques are so cool. I want to do that. You could if you were in my clan, but you aren't. She gloated, and the boy groaned at the fact. Okay. So that's all the special jutsu that I can actually do so far. It's your turn, Sasuke. Quote, alright, I guess I could tell you a thing or two about the Uchiha clan's abilities. Let's start with what made the Uchiha clan the most feared and powerful in Konoha. Do any of you know about the Sharingan? Quote, Naruto didn't have a clue, but Ino did. Oh yeah, my dad told me about it since he used to work alongside your clan when they ran their police force. Police force? Naruto questioned. You honestly don't know. 5 years ago, Konoha used to have a police force that handled the crime here, and they were mostly run by the Uchiha clan. The reason was because of their Sharingan, which is a form of Dujutsu. You know what Dujutsu and Kekkei Genkai are, right? Quote, sure. Ino sighed exasperatedly. Okay. Here's the short lesson. First off, my clan specialize in jutsu that can be learned by anyone if they were taught. However, there are other clans that have Kekkei Genkai. They are basically special abilities that are only passed through a specific clan by blood, and in some clans, those special abilities are used through their eyes, which is otherwise known as Dujutsu. In Sasuke's case, he is able to have the Sharingan. Quote, and what's that? Sasuke explained, the Sharingan gives the user the ability to read their opponent's movements and copy them. However, they cannot copy all of their movements like how I can't copy Ino's mind transfer jutsu. Quote, oh, that sounds lame. It's not lame. Ino punched his noggin. Of course you wouldn't understand how great an ability like that is because you don't bother to learn anything except be a pervert. Quote, hey, I learn. I just don't see what's so impressive about copying people. Sasuke smirked. Then let me show you. Ino, help me demonstrate to this idiot the power of the Uchiha. Who'd you think you're calling an idiot, bastard? How about you use that Sharingan to copy how to be a decent person? Quiet, Naruto, Ino ordered, which he reluctantly followed. The boy watched as the first and second top graduate students faced each other. The first thing they did was hold up their 2 fingers to symbolize that they were going to fight, but there would be no death. Naruto remembered that he had to do such a thing, but that never exactly went well for him. Sasuke ordered for Ino to not hold back or he won't be able to show his Sharingan. The number 1 graduate nodded. They paused for 5 seconds before charging at each other like they would back at the academy. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw how fast and skilled they moved. He could see that Sasuke's moves were quick and full of force. He looked like he was bound to one-up her, but Ino's own style was graceful. The kunoichi was careful and cautious of Sasuke's movements since he was better at taijutsu. Ino felt fear, but she knew that she had to overlook that, and focus on the goal like a real ninja would. Sasuke saw Ino's strength in going on the defensive more than the offensive. When he saw a clever move to dodge his attack and go for the offensive, he thought this moment wasn't that special, but it was enough to give him a reason to activate the Sharingan. Ino saw it, and quickly moved back. Naruto was surprised by the red appearance with the strange commas added to it. Sasuke commented, it looks like there was a reason that you came second to me when it came to taijutsu. Ino smirked. It's only expected of the queen of the academy. But we aren't in the academy anymore, are we, Sasuke? Her voice became deceptively flirtatious. Here, it's not the adults who are going to determine who comes out on top. Just don't hurt me too bad, alright Sasuke-kun. She winked. Naruto got the shivers. Sasuke just smirked back, and the two engaged. The whiskered boy was caught off guard by the increased level of intensity now that Ino was not holding back. The girl appeared to be very capable of handling kunais and was able to use the illusion trick that Kakashi pulled on Naruto more times than he liked. Sasuke appeared to be equipped with even more skills up his sleeve, but was obviously holding back just to demonstrate to Naruto of his ability. And at just the right time, Sasuke copied a very distinct move from Ino to dodge her attack, and then used it to initiate his own. Ino was knocked down onto the ground, and that was the signal for the fighting to stop. Both her and Sasuke were out of breath while Naruto just stared at this dumbfounded. Ino got up and appeared to be fine. A little bruised, but that was good health by ninja standards. The two ninjas faced each other and sealed their two fingers together. The girl then looked over to Naruto. Did you see it, Naruto? What we've shown you is not even scratching the surface of the power of the Sharingan. Naruto quickly snapped out of his amazement to turn back into his snotty self. HMPH. I still don't think it's anything to brag about. Ino sighed at his stubborn attitude. Well, whether it's great or not doesn't really matter since you'll be working with Sasuke's Sharingan and my clan's abilities, and your special shadow clone jutsu. Quote, my shadow clone jutsu. Naruto didn't see how that was special. Ino explained, well, you may not belong to a clan or have a Kekkei Genkei, but your shadow clone jutsu is very useful. Maybe with you, I'll be able to use my mind transfer jutsu if you can make a bunch of you appear and hold Dao. And our target. And you're sneaky enough to do it, too. But you need to learn how to actually capture the real enemy and not be tricked the same way Kakashi-sensei got you yesterday. Naruto was feeling pretty proud of himself by all of Ino's compliments, but then he groaned when he remembered how he embarrassed himself yesterday. So Naruto, we showed you our special abilities, how about you whip up some clones and Sasuke and I will fight them. Ino punched her palm to show that she was still ready for combat. Seriously? Yeah, you suck at taijutsu, and Sasuke and I trained ourselves to take on multiple opponents. Since your clones have the same brain as you can watch your clones go against us, and then try a one-on-one fight. Ino figured. But Naruto was annoyed by how much she looked down on his own taijutsu skills. Hey, I don't suck at anything. I'll show you that I don't need some stickin' clones to go against the likes of you two. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be Hokage someday. Believe it. Sasuke huffed out a laughter he restrained, but the blonde heard it. Oi. What are you laughing about, bastard? You wanna go? Hey, I bet I can beat 10 of you at once. Naruto growled like an animal before cooking up 9 clones so the 10 could charge at him. Ino yelled at him to stop, but seeing as this could be some form of training, she just let the boys have their fun. While she watched them battle it out against each other, she couldn't help admiring how cool Sasuke looked and also pitying at how Naruto looked losing. But she had to admit that they both seemed to be having fun with each other. Unknown to her as she was watching, Kakashi was watching, too, from a tree branch while reading his Ika Ika Paradise. And Sakura was watching as well from behind a tree. When it was becoming sundown, both Sasuke and Naruto were drained dry of energy. Ino approached them with drinks and food to help them replenish. They didn't notice at all when she left to get these. Boy, you guys sure know how to duke it out. I don't remember watching something this passionate since Anoni trained with my dad. She also appeared to have a medical kit with her, and kneeled down to inspect Sasuke to see some minor cuts and bruises which she helped patch up. She then looked over Naruto, who needed it even more by how beaten up he looked. But there appeared to be no cuts and the bruises and burns looked like they were shrinking away. She thought it was weird, but it wasn't unnatural for some ninjas to heal faster than others. She helped patch him up, and as she did, she told him, "You're a moron to go up against a genius like Sasuke. But you do have guts, I'll give you that. HMPH. Don't patronize me," he grumbled. "I'm not patronizing you." Ino let him know, "You are an idiot through and through, but you do have determination. I'll give you that. I think I can rely on you a little more when we're on more serious missions together." At those words, Naruto appeared to look dispirited, which Sasuke noticed. Ino was more focused on patching him up. After that, the three separated. The next day, after going through genin ranked missions throughout the village, Ino was called out by one of Sakura's teammates to go meet with her. Ino had a feeling she knew what this was about, but she went anyway to the field where they once hung out together as kids. Sakura appeared determined, and Ino faced her the same way. Ino, she started. I know that you're the one of Sasuke's team, but I have no plans on losing to you. I won't lose to you, Ino. Quote. Same here, Sakura. I won't lose to you no matter what. Ino made that promise, despite knowing the fact that she had a reason to not win. Sakura then held out a ribbon that Ino remembered being the one she gave to her, but her ex-best friend told her that she was returning it. Ino told her that it was something that she was supposed to use, and that her forehead protector was supposed to be put on her forehead. Though that's a lot saying from her who uses it as a belt. Yet, Sakura gave her reason that her forehead protector and her giving back the ribbon was a symbol of no longer being in Ino's shadow, and that she now stood as a kunoichi who will surpass her. A part of Ino was hurt by how much Sakura was willing to throw away their friendship, but she understood that these sort of things happen for the sake of growing up and being a ninja. It came with sacrifice, and despite how much resentment Ino held against her former best friend, she still cared deeply for her. She wanted Sakura to blossom, and if this was what she had to do, then she would do it for her sake. Good idea, then, she said as she held the hand that held the ribbon. Until that time, she took the ribbon in her hand, and then walked away since nothing else had to be said. Underscore. It was a day off, but Ino was stuck watching over the flower shop while her mother took the chance to go off and do what she wanted. Surprisingly, her twin, who also had the day off, stuck around to chat since it was a slow day. Shikamaru and Choji were also present. So things been good? Anoni questioned. She took a sip of her drink. Ino sighed, it's tiresome. But yeah, we're actually making great progress. Naruto is a brat, and Sasuke surprisingly likes playing around with him. What? Seriously? Shikamaru was surprised to hear that about the how dare you talk to me emo prince. Yeah, those two get along surprisingly well like Anoni and Kiba, but Sasuke still keeps his cool. He's really a nice guy once you get to know him. Sounds like too much of a drag. The lazy deer spoke lazily like usual, but there seemed to be a hint of distaste for getting to know the guy. At least it sounds like you're doing great, Ino. Choji commented as he munched his chips. How has your training with your clan's abilities been? Anoni is surprisingly doing well. What was that fatso? Exclamation mark quote. Whou calling a fatso, Dyke. The two slammed their foreheads against each other, growling for a match, but it was all just playful, and they wouldn't do anything to hurt the shop. What a drag, Shikamaru groaned. He then faced Ino to repeat Choji's question, so how has your training been going? I actually haven't gone around doing it much. I've only been training in using my sensory skills. Naruto doesn't like it when I link our minds, but he has to just suck it up. And I think my range in sensing chakra have been improving since sensei likes to waste my time, and the boys play too much. We only started being genin, and I have to focus on getting Naruto to catch up, so we can make team strategies. Don't you think you're working too hard? Where's your sensei in all this? Anoni told me that you were even preparing lessons for dead last. It can't be helped. Kakashi sensei just wants us to do the mission, and when it's over, he's gone just like that. I told him about our extra training lessons, but he says that he thinks we have the handle on things by ourselves. Geez, he sounds way worse than Asuma sensei. I know, right? And that's not even the least of my problems. Naha, Naruto. Sasuke. Ino was surprised to see Sasuke push in a nervous Naruto into the shop. Sasuke explained, I found this guy loitering around the shop looking suspicious, so I bought him inside. Quote, I wasn't. Ino found that confusing. Naruto, you know you're allowed in here unless you're here to start trouble. You're not, are you? No, of course not. It's just. The boy looked down, feeling embarrassed for a second before brashly yelling, I just need to talk to you in private. Okay. Don't tell me it's a love confession. Anoni cried out in an over-dramatic disturbed way. No, it isn't, you dyke. Good because my sister can do better than Mr. Rejected McWhiskers here. Quote, you wanna fight. All ow. No fights in the shop. Ino pinched Naruto's ear and pulled him out of the shop to the back of the house. She had her chakra sensing on, so Anoni or anyone else wouldn't be able to hear a thing if they came closer. And the others knew that. So, what was it that you wanted to talk about? Well, Naruto fidgeted a bit, which only weirded out the pre-teen girl. Well, out with it. I'm sorry about what happened the other day. Naruto finally said it, and it looked like it took a lot of energy by how he gasped for air. The other day. Oh, you mean the survival training? I already said that it was okay. I know that. It's just that I never actually got around to apologizing for that. Look, I don't want to be the type of guy who leaves his comrades behind. I just did what I did because I was an idiot who thought that you were like everyone else who just looked down on me. Well, to be fair, I do look down on you, Naruto. Ino admitted. So I get why you wouldn't have trusted me, especially when our status as ninjas were threatened. Look, just wait here. I'll be right back. The girl went off to get something. It just took a minute before she was back with a morning glory flower in hand. Here, you should know that my favorite phrase is, the many meanings of flowers, and this one represents willful promises, as in I promise to keep my promises to try to be a better teammate and friend from now on. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, Naruto. I know I talk too much, and I act hard on you, but that's only because I care. I know you can do this, Naruto. I just need you to be willing to do it. I am, the boy declared as he placed his hand by Ino's to take the flower. The girl smiled at the answer. Good. Now, let's get back. I'll hand you some instructions to help keep that flower in good condition. Quote, Naruto nodded, and the two returned back to see that Team 10 was telling Sasuke something that piqued his interest. What are you guys talking about? Ino inquired. Anoni answered, we're telling your future not husband on how to strategize with our clan's jutsu. Quote, Shikamaru explained, it's to lighten the load on you. But this is such a drag. Hey Naruto, you better listen up because I'm not repeating myself twice. Anoni snorted, don't bother. The only way this guy is gonna learn is if we beat it into him. Quote, a dyke like you would know, huh? Got something to say, dead last. Yeah, I got something to say with my fists, you bore. The two looked ready to make a mess, and Ino got in between them, and scolded their ears out. Shikamaru muttered, we have some troublesome people. Sasuke silently agreed. He owned two of them. Choji just munched away. Over a month passed since, and Ino swore that she was about to be on her last nerve with this team. No matter how many times she scolded their sensei about being late, he kept saying crap like being lost on the way of life or whatever, and just smoothly moving things along at his own pace with his own idea of how he wanted to teach them teamwork. Ino already told him about their extra training that he could take a part in, but their sensei apparently had better things to do, and figured that she had everything under control. She did, but that still didn't excuse him for his lack of cooperation, which made him a ludicrous sensei to have. She complained about this to her own father multiple times, but this sort of thing was out of his hands, and the Hokage's choice was final unless the Genins broke up. She knew she was fighting a losing battle, but she wasn't one to half-ass anything. The sensei wasn't the only problem, unfortunately. After every frickin' mission, Sakura would appear, and Ino gets it, but damn, that girl just kept coming and coming as if she was just lurking around the corner just to see Sasuke. Ino swore she was about to tear off one of Sasuke's limbs by how clinging she'll act just to get on her nerves. Sasuke even asked her afterwards to go easy on him, and she apologized, but couldn't keep that promise as long as that pink-haired stalker was roaming around trying to get a point in. But she guessed she could look into the bright side of things. Their sensei being late gave Ino time to teach Naruto the basic things that Iruka sensei should have drilled into his brain already. He appeared to be a hands-on learner, so Ino tried her best to incorporate her lessons with movement and visuals, with Sasuke's help of course. She happily also noticed how he was very observant and aware of how his teammates felt to a certain extent. He would act as a middleman when it was Naruto and Ino bickering. These little things she noticed just made him appear more charming and wholesome as a person. She couldn't help falling deeper for him despite knowing full well that they couldn't be. Despite how mundane the genin missions were, she really looked forward to the next day. But soon enough, Naruto really was a piece of work to deal with, and he was the one who finally made Ino lose her last nerve when they were in the middle of picking weeds, and she quickly caught him about to screw up. Ino kicked him hard enough to roll across the ground and hit a tree. She screeched at him, "What the hell did you think you were about to do, you idiot? You were about to pull out the herbs from the ground." Quote, "Ow, ow, ow, hey, what do you think you're doing? I was just pulling out some weeds." "Pulling weeds? My foot. Do you even know what a weed looks like?" She marched over to him and pulled his ear towards the garden. She then began teaching him, "Here. Do you know what kind of garden this is?" Naruto his head in confusion. He just saw a bunch of grass. Ino sighed. "Look." She began pointing at each plant. "Here is a medical herb. This herb is usually used to make medical pills or the basic stuff like soup to help treat someone who is sick. You can tell that it's the herb by its shape and texture. Here, touch it. Don't pull." Naruto followed along since it seemed interesting. Ino went on to tell him what a weed was, how it looked, and its texture. Also the correct way to pull out a weed, so it didn't spread. "Oh, I see." Naruto began to effectively and efficiently do his job. "Good work. Keep that up, and you might be Hokage someday." She half teased and encouraged. Naruto chuckled proudly to himself, "Just you watch. I'll pull all these weeds out, that these herbs are gonna grow the best." "Yeah, you do that." Ino went to her own spot to clear the weeds. Sasuke and Kakashi simply watched the lesson before returning back to what they were doing. After the tiresome missions, Ino let herself feel exhausted. "Man. We're finally done with today. I'm going to go to the onsen to relax. Do any of you guys want to go, too?" Today wasn't a team training day for them. Totally. Naruto was on board. "Ooh, can we go get Ichiraku's afterwards? Only if you don't try to peek into the women's bath." Ino half agreed, half warned. "If you're going to be in there, then there's no way I want to peek." Naruto shivered at the idea. That caught Ino off guard, and quite frankly insulted. What's that supposed to mean? "Hey, I'm just saying that it would be like peeking at my sister bathing." Yuck. Quote, "If I'm your sister, then you're my little brother. And if I even see a little strand of blonde hair near the women's bathing area, I'm gonna hurl you to the next village. You hear me?" Yeah, whatever." Naruto childishly looked down with a grimace because it was a nice day to go peeking. Ino then looked over to Sasuke. "What about you, Sasuke? Wanna go to the onsen? It'll be good for your body." But Naruto complained, "Ew, I don't wanna go with him." "Well, too bad. It would actually make me feel better if he came, so he can keep a watch on you." Kakashi then spoke up. "Well, you know, I'm still here." Quote, Ino looked at him disinterestedly. "Oh, you were." She deadpanned as if what he said had no relevance to what they were talking about. That was an obvious sign that he was hated tremendously to the point that Ino became apathetic. It kinda depressed the sensei a bit. It even hurt more when his 3 students were walking away to the onsen without him involved in their conversation at all. But he had to admit, they did appear to get along quite well despite how noisy they are. Sasuke just faced away from him much to Naruto's annoyance. "Pay attention to him, damn it." Kakashi considered their words. "I see. Then maybe I will join you 3 in your after-mission training." "Really?" Quote. Naruto was excited by this. "Then just you wait, Kakashi-sensei. You're going to see how much I approved, and wipe the floor with this guy." He pointed at Sasuke, who huffed. For the first time, Naruto felt a blood vessel nearly burst. What did you mean first time, you bastard? You wanna go now? I've only been going easy on you from the start. Then you must have been starting from level 0 or lower. Quote, Raaaaah. Kakashi held Naruto back and scolded them both for trying to start a fight. Ino, who heard only Naruto's voice, became secretly embarrassed as the girls around her started to whisper among themselves about a fight possibly going on between men. Underscore. Kakashi did as he said and joined them in their next training session. First, he followed them to a yakiniku restaurant since Ino wanted variety in her meals. Naruto was cool with that since Ichiraku's may be his favorite place in the world, but he still had room to eat other kinds of food. Their sensei watched in surprise at how Ino talked to Naruto about politics while forcing vegetables on his plate. As someone who was to run a shop, following up on politics was essential since a simple ruling or a comment made could define how to strategize for the business, so it can remain profitable. Naruto, who wanted to be Hokage, had to have these types of conversations. Kakashi could tell that Ino didn't entirely believe that Naruto could ever become the Hokage, but she wasn't one to not show her support for her fellow teammate. Naruto was surprisingly trying to understand what she was talking about and tried to be involved in the conversation as much as he could. He really was more invested in the conversation when people's emotions and livelihoods were put on the line or sacrificed. Sasuke would also become involved in the conversation to help Naruto understand or add to what Ino was saying. Yet, when Ino and Sasuke realized that they had opposite views about something, they would go full-on debate about why certain things were right or wrong. Naruto listened and tried to catch up to what they were saying. Sometimes he would try to act like he understood by crossing his arms with a serious face and nod whenever it felt appropriate to do so. It took a moment for Kakashi to remember that these were 12-year-olds. He was very young when he rose up the ranks of a ninja, and was a genius himself, but he kept most of his thoughts and debates to himself. It was odd to see a group of children deciding whether allowing Anbu to search a person's home without the person's knowledge should continue to be allowed. While this went on, Kakashi had noticed from the beginning that when Ino only took a few pieces of meat without much attention, Sasuke and Naruto would secretly slip a piece of meat on her dish. Ino was too focused on talking to realize this happening. When Ino and Sasuke started their debate, Kakashi asked Naruto in a whisper of why they did that. Naruto whispered back that Inoni, Shikamaru, and Choji warned them about Ino's diet. The girl apparently does eat 3 meals, but they were very little. If she were to eat something like ramen, she would skip the next meal and just stick with water or soup. Kakashi found it odd that someone like Ino would think to go on a diet since that wasn't ideal for a kunoichi. Naruto said that it was just a girl thing these days. The sensei frowned at the fact that girls these days were more concentrated on nonsensical things like love these days. After getting their fill without Ino noticing that she ate a full good meal, they went to the training grounds. Ino wanted Kakashi to see how far the boys had come, so she had already set up a race where they were to run up a tall tree to find the location of ninja tools that Kakashi would place some. Where there will be a time limit, so they have to get the pouches of weapons and other necessary equipment as fast as they could. And then after that, the 3 of them would go against Kakashi to show off their teamwork strategies. The sensei considered bringing the bells into this, but Sasuke thought holding a scroll would be better since in a real scenario, it would be scrolls that they would hunt for. With that settled, Kakashi went off to place the tools somewhere they could be spotted from above. When he finished that, he signaled for them to go. He watched them do a seal to concentrate the chakra to their feet. He was almost surprised since this sort of skill wasn't taught in the academy, but then remembered that Ino would have been taught this at a young age to begin with. He watched as all 3 of them quickly reached the tree that was tall enough to give them a view for their tools. When spotted, they quickly went off to get it and each of them caught their tools before the time was up. They then hid themselves from Kakashi's sight, which signaled for the teamwork to begin. He remained in plain view, but remained somewhat cautious. Ino was telepathic, so they could be communicating right now to formulate a plan despite being separated. Ino was also a sensory type, so she could sense Kakashi's chakra. He could get over 5 miles away from her to make that ability useless, but he really wanted to see what they could come up with. In this sort of situation, Kakashi figured that Ino would remain in the background to act as support, while Sasuke and Naruto were to be the ones to go on the offensive. Just as he figured, Naruto came rushing out with his multiple clones. Kakashi skillfully dodged him, but he did take notice that the boy's taijutsu skills have improved. As the boy attacked, weapons from all over were thrown, but Kakashi immediately saw through the distraction. From behind him, a Naruto clone appeared, but the hand signs he made had the Junin realize that this wasn't Naruto at all. He tried to move, but from down below, the real Naruto had his ankles. He was trapped for Sasuke's wrath. But he wasn't one to go easy. He quickly broke through Naruto's grasp and kicked Sasuke's chin up to aim the flame that way. He made for a quick escape, but then he suddenly found himself immobile. He looked down to see that his feet and wrists were tied by a string of chakra made from flexible twigs and leaves. He found that the source came from the direction where Sasuke charged from, and it trailed all the way back behind a bush. Ino telepathically connected to him. She giggled in a cute menacing way. It looks like we caught you, sensei. It appears that you did. It was my mistake to think that you would stay as a backup to act as these two's form of communication. I must admit that I applaud your work in getting these two to work together on this. Well, it is a common saying, sensei, that it takes a common enemy to bring a nation together. So you better do something quick, or these boys are going to take that scroll from you. Quote, you don't have to tell me twice. He broke away from the hold, and turned around to face the boys coming at him for the scroll. However, that was a mistake when it turned out that Ino was actually hiding in front of Kakashi. She activated her mind transfer jutsu, and Kakashi allowed her to take control. She took the scroll out and handed it to Naruto, who cheered. She released the jutsu since being in her sensei's body was just weird. Once back in control, Kakashi immediately deduced the situation. Naruto was to corner him at a single spot, so Ino could hide at the place closest to him. Ino had efficient control in chakra to transfer it through the twigs and leaves. String would have been easier, but the element they were going for was the element of surprise. And thus, Sasuke was the one to set up the leaves and twigs around the area, so that Ino could catch him in any direction he might be at. The Uchiha would then set up the rest of the trail in the opposite direction to fool their sensei. It was also a good thing that the wind wasn't blowing, too. He casually congratulated them, well done. You three have shown great progress. You still have a long way to go, but teamwork-wise, I'm beginning to like the three of you a bit more. You truly did a swell job on these two, Ino. I'm impressed. The girl, who walked out while cleaning her hair from the twigs and leaves, said, yeah. It wasn't easy, but I can't take all the credit. Sasuke was the one who mostly provided the tactical strategies while Naruto was the one to provide the creative ideas. I just simply used my advanced experience to make this possible. We know it's not the best plan, so thanks for taking it easy on us, sensei. Naruto added, yeah, but we totally showed you, huh, sensei. So you better not underestimate us again. Believe it. Kakashi smiled, you're right. So from now on I'll be training you after the missions 3 times harder than you have been training up till now, and it will be after every mission. We will start out light of course, but each time we train together it will become more and more difficult that I advise you not to miss a second of it. He spoke so seriously that the three of them felt both excitement and fear at what was to come. If we have an understanding, then see you tomorrow. A week passed since that day, and Ino swore she was about to throw in the towel at some point. Kakashi wasn't kidding when he said that things would get more and more difficult each time they trained. After their mundane and tiring missions, They trained by running through obstacle courses where it wasn't only about trying to do special tricks and teamwork. They also had to do studying and researching to figure out how to solve puzzles and riddles that their sensei would give hints to before the trial. If they got it wrong, they were to be punished and forced to restart. Naruto was one of the main reasons they would get punished and be forced to restart many times. The idiot had no idea how to do any studying or research, so it always put Ino and even Sasuke on edge when he was the one to answer a question. Also, because of his brash attitude, he still hadn't entirely mastered patience or watching out for traps. He would get hurt so many times that Ino practically already felt like she was becoming a medical nin by how many times she had to patch him up. It truly was more challenging with Naruto on board, but the idiot was trying his best. Despite this though, all of this extra training only fired up Sasuke and the idiot Naruto to try harder as an individual and as a team to get to their goal. Ino was both inspired but exhausted by them, too. She wanted to be a good kunoichi, but it was all too fast-paced. However, she wasn't one to give up, so she just sucked it up and got through it. She was truly thankful for Kakashi giving them 2 days off instead of the usual one. She always looked forward to them because she would literally spend nearly an entire day sleeping. She would then spend the next day either just doing lazy things before reading up on books to help her figure out what Kakashi had hinted at. One day, it was a slow day at the flower shop, so she took over at the cash register to let her mom do what she wanted. She was just reading a magazine until Naruto surprisingly entered the place. Naruto, what are you doing here? She then teased, did you happen to find yourself a girlfriend? The boy blushed. No, I just came to buy gardening supplies, okay. Gardening supplies? Yeah. Naruto still appeared nervous, but well-intentioned. I'm still taking care of the morning glory flower you gave me, but it's starting to not look so good. And I also have a plant at home that's doing okay, but I thought I'd swing around to get your advice on it. Quote, that was thoughtful. Ino helpfully answered, then I'd be more than happy to help you, Naruto. You must be taking care of the morning glory very well for it to last this long. I'm surprised. Well, you shouldn't be. One of my hobbies is watering plants. It's actually really calming taking care of one. I hear ya. It's one of the reasons I really love flowers. What kind of plant do you have? You know, I never actually been to your place. How about I drop by? Now, sure. I can give you the best advice if I inspect the plants myself. Ah, never mind then. I think I have everything under control. Thanks anyway. Bye. Your room is messy, isn't it? Ino shot point blank. Ooh. Naruto couldn't very well deny it. He knew it was expected of him, but the situation made it feel embarrassing. The care for plants in a dirty place didn't sound like a good combination to demonstrate one's character. But Ino didn't mind. It's okay. Anoni's room a mess, so I won't be surprised. I'll grab some gardening supplies first, and then we can go. Okay. Naruto felt awkward being left alone to wait since the situation just felt embarrassingly awkward, and not in a way where he can just shout it wanna come to the back with me? I'm closing shop early anyway since it's usually closed today. I just opened it up to waste some time, and make up for my lack of work hours. The girl went to the front to change the sign, and then had Naruto follow her to the back. There were a bunch of doors, but the very back led to where the gardening supplies were held. Ino picked a few and had Naruto carry some in a bag before they headed off to his place. After entering it, Ino was not surprised by how it was a simple small apartment. The first room she entered was the kitchen, which had a table that wasn't cleaned from the lunch that Naruto had earlier. She saw that a plant was present at the corner beside the windows. She noticed how it was positioned in a proper place where most of the sunlight would shine through. She walked through a hallway to find where the toilet and bath were separately. At the end was the bedroom, which held an unkempt bed, dirty clothes left on the floor and things left on the cabinets and drawer chest. There was a convenient door to the balcony, too. She then took notice of the plant that was beside the bed. The morning glory was placed in a vase on top of a cabinet nearest to the window. It was in fact wilting, but she would get to that in just a moment. Wow, I was right, but it's not as bad as Anoni's, and at least there doesn't seem to be any food crumbs on the floor like Choji's room. You've been in Choji's room. Yeah, I told you that it was expected of me, Choji and Shikamaru, to be friends when we were young. I've been to their houses, and been there for nearly every celebration. We're basically a huge family with no blood ties. Looks like the flower I gave you is wilting a little, and it must be due to the change of season. Flowers are more sensitive to that than your potted plants that look very healthy to me. There's a way to revive this flower by using some home remedies, but there's actually a secret shortcut. She placed her finger against her lips and winked, so you better not tell anyone that I told you this. Quote. That piqued Naruto's interest, so he got closer. He saw Ino place one hand a few centimeters away from the flower, and then a green aura lit up. Whoa, Naruto said under his breath in amazement when he saw the flower regain its full life. Wow, how did you do that? What I did was actually a form of medical ninjutsu. Medical ninjutsu? Yeah, the jutsu that doctors and nurses from our hospitals use to heal the wounded and perform surgery. Quote. Oh, you can do that? Of course not. Medical ninjutsu is incredibly difficult to perform on a person. But doing it on flowers is easy since all Yamanaka family members are taught on how to heal them just in case our shop were to be damaged by an accident or an attack. But I do plan on learning how to do proper medical ninjutsu later since it's encouraged for ninjas who act as the support of the team to learn. Right now, I need to focus on getting a hang of my clan's other abilities. Quote. Cool. So say if someone cuts me or something, you can just heal it all up after I beat the guy. I guess. Ino wasn't sure of how deep a cut he was talking about. Wow, I gotta say you really are amazing, Ino. Naruto couldn't help complimenting her. His blue eyes sparkling and whole face grinning from ear to ear. Not only can you do cool mind tricks, and fight really well, but you know so much about plants and healing. I feel like the luckiest man in the world to have you as a teammate. Ino felt her cheeks flush up by the compliments. She looked away from Naruto, unsure of how to handle this. Her usual confident demeanor suddenly took a shift to the opposite. Naruto noticed that she acted weirdly shy. What with how she couldn't make eye contact while her cheeks were very red. Huh, something wrong, Ino? Nothing. She meant to say that frankly, but it came out as an awkward half-whisper. She still couldn't make proper eye contact when she turned to him. She also couldn't think of what to casually say, so she forced herself to speak. You really should tidy up this place. She began picking up his dirty clothes to put them in a laundry basket in the room. She noticed the lack of clothes and style there was. Is this all you have for clothes? What do you have in the refrigerator? She went to the kitchen much to Naruto's dismay. He ordered her to not look in there, but he was too late. Ino opened it and saw the usual milk and ramen. Seriously, is this all you have? I thought I told you to start eating vegetables. Did you even learn how to cook? Hey, what I eat is none of your business. You're not the boss of me. Ino sighed. It can't be helped then. Come with me. She grabbed his hand and pulled him out of the place. The garden supplies were left back in the bedroom. Hey, where are you taking me? Exclamation mark quote. Shopping. Shopping. I'm not going shopping with you. Not that kind of shopping, idiot. I meant to get you healthier food and some more clothes. But I don't have any money on me. That wasn't true, but he was saving his money for more important things. Don't worry, I'll buy them. Naruto was surprised to hear that. Huh, you will. Yeah, I can't expect someone without a job to start buying stuff, so I'll take care of it. Ino did have quite a lot on her, and she was saving them for some girly things to keep her pretty. But at that moment, she wanted to help Naruto out just to uphold what he said about her. The two went to a convenience store where Ino bought cheap but delicious and nutritious food to put in Naruto's fridge. Naruto showed distaste for every vegetable and almost every fruit she inspected, which got him a scolding. After that, they brought the stuff back to the apartment to put them in the fridge. Ino took another look around to see that some repairs were needed, so she took it upon herself to talk to He landlord about this later. First, she took Naruto back out to go shopping for clothes. You can't live off of wearing the same thing every day. You should have something different to wear during days off, too. She said as she looked over the different kinds of jackets fit for men. But I like my jacket. I'm not saying you have to make a permanent switch. I'm just giving you something else to wear on your days off, so you don't completely wear out this one. I'm surprised it didn't shred apart by how rowdy you are. That's because I know this really awesome seamstress who can make my jacket look all new and stuff. Naruto said proudly. She's old, but she's really nice and great. Quote, maybe I'd like to meet her if I end up ruining my blouse. Ino noted to herself while continuing to search for clothes that would suit the boy. Anyway, you should also take this as an opportunity to look nice when you find yourself on a date with a girl you like. Quote, date. Naruto was shocked that someone believed that he could possibly go on one. Ino didn't believe in that at all, but it was a way to convince the guy to dress a bit more attractive. Yeah, you don't want to go on a date in your orange tracksuit, do you? Girls like a guy who wears clothes that show off their attractive build and give off the air of a gentleman. Really? Naruto listened carefully. Trust me, Naruto. I know what I'm saying. Just like how guys like girls who are thin and beautiful, girls like guys who are cool and treat them well. Cool. You mean like Sasuke's cool? Naruto grimaced because Sasuke was cool, but he didn't want to be a jerk like him. Yeah, but you can't be Sasuke. Not that I'm saying that is a bad thing. You should be yourself. Just be less, yourself. What's that supposed to mean? That didn't make any sense or make him feel good at all. I mean, don't act entirely the way you are like you do with me. I tolerate you being a complete doofus who pulls pranks on people, acts like a pervert, and gets into fights too easily. It just shows that you're completely immature and hard to deal with. When you're on a date, you want your best qualities to shine. My best qualities. Naruto grimaced again with furrowed brows because he tried to think of one at the top of his head that was best to show on a date. Ino helped him. Well, for one, you should share your dreams about being Hokage. It sounds ridiculous, but it shows that you're ambitious and strong-willed. And when you're sharing hobbies, you should just tell them about how you like to water plants since it makes you calm. It shows that you do have troubling days like anyone else, but you find ways to overcome that. It makes you appear not only relatable, but also dependable and nurturing since plants are living things that need to be constantly taken care of. Quote, Naruto felt his cheeks redden a bit. You really think I'm dependable and strong-willed? Ino gave him an honest smile and told him, of course. Teammates are supposed to see the best in each other. Quote, the boy felt his cheeks redden a brighter shade of red. He really was weak to compliments. Thanks, Ino. You really are the best. Ino discovered that she was, too. Then to their surprise, Iruka-sensei appeared in the clothing shop. Naruto. Ino. What are you two doing here? I was just walking by, and I couldn't help noticing Naruto's orange jacket. He looked at Naruto. I just didn't think that I'd ever see you enter one before by yourself. Quote, it wasn't my idea, it was Ino's, he said as if he was passing the blame onto her. Ino rightfully defended herself. That's because you only had like 3 t-shirts, and 1 pair of pants besides the one you're wearing now. I can't afford to buy you a whole wardrobe, but these cheap donations are not a total fashion cry, and they're quite comfortable to wear. Want to join, Iruka-sensei? You know Naruto better, and he's surprisingly picky. Quote, sure, I'd be more than happy to help. Iruka was pleasantly surprised that Ino was going out of her way to help Naruto get some clothes that he should really have. He also did the same thing for Naruto as he grew up and got too big for his old clothes, so he sure did know about his pickings. For over 2 hours, the three of them went through different clothes. When Naruto was in the dressing room, Iruka-sensei openly thanked Ino for her generosity. I heard from Kakashi-sensei of how you took it upon yourself to help Naruto learn what I should have taught him back at the academy. I always knew Naruto needed special attention, but with how he was a difficult kid to get a hold on and there weren't enough staff members willing to deal with him, I thought he wouldn't have graduated. Quote, I can't take all the credit, Iruka-sensei. Naruto did learn some things from you back at the academy, so he wasn't completely difficult to tutor. He's also very creative and determined, so he's not a completely hopeless case. Quote, that made Iruka feel relieved. That's good to hear. I've been worrying if he's been as much trouble for you as much as he was for me. Oh, he is. But he didn't ditch any of the missions and comes on time, so I guess he's also maturing. Quote, really? That's surprising to hear. Naruto appeared in the new clothes, having heard that last part. Surprising to hear what? Are you talking about me? Iruka just smiled while Ino teased him, which got the hot-tempered boy mad. In the end, Iruka offered to be the one to pay instead since he was a full-time working adult. Ino was more than happy to let him, and Naruto appeared to be a bit bothered, but also a bit happy with the new stuff he got. Afterwards, Iruka had to leave since he was a teacher. They were the ones with the biggest homework and projects of them all in the school, after all. So you finally have a fully stocked fridge, and you got yourself some new clothes. Ino announced happily. Next time, we should get you some kitchen and cleaning supplies, and talk to your landlord about fixing the leak in your sink. You are financed by the government since you don't have parents, so you should probably look into spending your money on something more like that. And hey, if you don't have anything to eat in the fridge besides ramen, you can drop by my place. My mom would be more than happy to have an extra mouth to feed. We always stock up on food since the Akamaikis would come over, and she loves company. Quote. Ino. The girl looked to her teammate to see him frowning at the ground. What's wrong, Naruto? Nothing's wrong. It's just that. He held up his head and showed a grin that should have brightened up the day, but it appeared to be full of pain but also gratitude. Thanks, Ino. You really are an amazing teammate. Ino found herself blushing again and unable to look at him. She knew she was being ridiculous, but Naruto's words were so full of warmth, that it made her already warm face feel hot. You don't have to thank me. It's just what teammates do for each other. She hated how fragile she sounded. Is this what being a teammate is supposed to be like? To be honest, Ino, it really feels like we're friends. The boy said that with a shy tone of his own. Ino felt stupid for a moment since she thought she should have considered the two of them to be friends in the first place instead of just teammates. She remembered what happened the last time she had a friend that wasn't tied by tradition or blood, she had a definite feeling that Naruto was different. And that made her frightfully happy. While this happened, Sasuke happened to be walking by with a chattering Sakura. This wasn't the first time she's done this, and he told her to go away, but at this point, he just let her tag along while ignoring her. His eyes then caught the orange of Naruto's jacket and the back of his head. The Uchiha also noticed a familiar blonde facing him. Sakura noticed them, too. Isn't that Ino and Naruto? Quote. Sasuke was curious as to what his teammates were doing together on their day offs, but his attention immediately shifted to Ino's face. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw how bashful she looked. He found himself walking to them for answers, ignoring Sakura's plea to wait a bit for her. Hey, he greeted. Naruto turned around. Him and Ino were shocked to see him and Sakura together. Both of the blondes yelled, "What are you two doing together?" Quote. Sakura's response was a triumphant grin, and a little lie, "What? You didn't know that Sasuke and I always hang out during his days off?" Ino felt furious that the pink-haired billboard brow was sneaking up a point behind her back this whole time. The Yamanaka barely had any time at all to properly flirt with Sasuke after Kakashi began working them to the bone. Naruto was just sad that it wasn't him. Sasuke ignored this to ask, "What are you two doing?" Quote. Naruto yelled at him, "It's none of your business what we're doing here." He was really jealous that the two were practically on a date. Naruto, don't yell at Sasuke. Ino berated him. HMPH. Well, we're done here, so I'm going home. The blonde couldn't stand the sight of his ultimate rival and his ultimate crush being together. He strode away as quickly as possible. Naruto. Ino followed him, completely forgetting her rivalry with Sakura over Sasuke. Huh, Sakura found that weird. She then gasped when she came to a realization. Sasuke. Don't tell me that they're. Sasuke frowned at this. He noticed that the two were close, but he didn't know how close they were. And that bothered him for some reason. Ino soon caught up to Naruto to hold his arm to stop him. Hey, Naruto, hold on a second. Don't just stomp away like that. I thought I told you to keep your cool in front of your crush. Quote. What? You know that I like Sakura. Ino looked at him with a deadpan expression. How could I not with how you turn into a complete dope in front of her? Arg. So Sakura knows. She'd have to be as dumb as you to not. But you should probably give up. She only has eyes for Sasuke. The two decided to take a moment to chill by sitting down in front of a dango shop where they were served. I know that. The boy groaned. But I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna be better than that bastard, and Sakura is bound to fall for me. Ino sarcastically remarked, oh yeah, the billboard brow will totally fall head over heels for you in another 60 years or so by how you're acting. Quote. Hey, don't call her billboard brow. Then stop calling Sasuke a bastard. The two glared at each other, but they dropped it when their dango arrived. Naruto then had to ask, anyway, why did you follow me? In fact, I noticed that you flirt with Sasuke, but you're not all over him like I thought you'd be. You even chased after me instead of trying to grab him away from Sakura like you would. I came after you because you were acting like a brat. You really need manners instilled into you. I don't need something like that. That's what a troublemaker would say. She muttered, and went on to answer his other question, anyway, I guess it's okay to tell you. It's not like it's a secret and it's not a law either, but people who are ninjas in my clan cannot marry or have a child with someone with a Kekkei Genkai. Why not? Because it's a whole power balance thing. You should know that Sasuke is strong, but if he knew my clan's abilities, he would be even stronger and dangerous. Not only will he be able to read and copy your abilities, but he would also be able to read your mind, so you'll become even more predictable. Quote. A power like that could disrupt the balance between the clans in Konoha. Sasuke appeared without Sakura in tow. Sasuke. Ino cried out happily at the fact that her rival isn't with him. Sasuke. Naruto was surprised by his appearance, and immediately asked, where's Sakura? She had errands to do. He answered curtly before adding to what Ino was saying, it's not only that people with hidden jutsu or a Kekkei Genkai can't be together, but it's the same for those with similar clans. By spoken law, I'm advised to not marry someone with a different Kekkei Genkai than me, and Ino, who is to be her clan's future leader, cannot marry important members of other hidden clans. Not only is it considered a threat to the purity of the Sharingan or the traditions of a hidden clan, but just as Ino told you, it could prove dangerous. I still don't get it. Naruto tried to wrap around the many nouns. Ino tried to simplify it. Basically, Sasuke and I can't get together because our kid would be considered a weapon that threatens the very delicate power balance between almost all the clans in Konoha. I also can't get with Shikamaru or Choji, not that I would, because they are also the future leaders of their clans. By tradition, our firstborns have to become a team together to keep our alliance strong. There was an exception that one of us can pull a close relative to fill in the role, but who will do it is the problem. Why is that a problem? Since it will make people think that the one who did it doesn't care for traditions, and that could ruin the alliance since we're supposed to stand a S equals who care a great deal about it. It's dishonorable. Sasuke added, and I can't marry someone with a Kekkei Genkai since not only would it be considered an act of making the Uchiha blood impure, but the child would also be considered a dangerous weapon that should be killed on the spot to keep the balance. Naruto felt disgust and shivers at the sound of that. So wait, people will kill the kid just because of who his parents are? Ino answered, only for Sasuke's case if he were to have a baby with someone with a Kekkei Genkai. But for me, if I have a child with a person with a Kekkei Genkai, the child will be allowed to live, but will be forbidden to learn our jutsu. For the relationship between hidden clan members, it's just a complete mess. Quote, Naruto fell silent as he thought about what they said, and what he came up with was, I still don't see how that's right. He just didn't like how people would suddenly assume that a kid who belonged to two strong parents was a weapon meant to be killed. If anything, that kid should be hailed as a prideful power of the village. Not someone to be scared of. Ino told him, it doesn't matter if you feel if it's right or wrong. People want there to be a balance to things, and that comes with sacrifice. If you're going to be Hokage, Naruto, you need to understand that. But what if you really like someone you can't be with? Naruto asked, can you really ignore your feelings? What if he likes you back? Can you ignore his? The heiress maturely answered, we all have our parts to play. If the one I like likes me back, and we can't be together for the sake of our clans, he would be the type to understand that, and respect my decision to choose my clan over us. Ino kept her eyes low, so they didn't land on Onyx ones. Sasuke's eyes were on her, and he recognized her crush on him, but that meant nothing to him. Yet, he respected Ino's take on her emotions. He then switched the conversation, anyway, you guys didn't answer my question earlier. Today's our day off, so I can't help thinking it's odd that the two of you are spending it together. Naruto glared at him since he really didn't want Sasuke to know his business when he was off on a date with Sakura. He looked away with a huff, I'm not telling you. Ino tiredly scolded him, stop that. She then answered, Naruto came by my shop for gardening tools. I figured that since it was a slow day, I'd visit his place, and lo and behold, it was a complete pigsty. Quote, takes one to see it that way. Naruto grumbled. What did you say? Ino rightfully hit him on the head for that comment, and Naruto held his pained head. She then composed herself to complain, anyway, I decided to buy Naruto some real food in his refrigerator since all he had was ramen and milk in there. He also barely had any clothes, so we went shopping, and Iruka-sensei came around to help us. Sasuke definitely noticed the bags, but thought they were Ino's. Maybe next time, the three of us can go shopping. Quote, no way, I'm not shopping with him. Naruto declared. Ino was so done with his attitude that she no longer had the energy to deal with his Tsunere-ness. I'm exhausted. We have a big day tomorrow, so bye guys. She then flirtatiously told Sasuke, unless you want to do something together, Sasuke. The boy stoically answered, I just finished my own training for the day, so I'm heading back to rest for tomorrow. We should all do the same. Naruto grimaced at the word training. Like geez, doesn't this guy know how to lighten up? He wanted to be strong, too, but day offs were invented for a reason. He thought that, but at the same time couldn't help feeling inadequate. Ino understood, and gave her goodbye with a cheer, then let's try our best, Sasuke. Bye Naruto. Better eat the vegetables I bought you. I didn't waste my money on you for nothing, you know. She then walked away with a satisfied smile after paying for the dango. Naruto grimaced at her order, and decided to leave, too, with his bags. Sasuke went on to do his own thing, too. 2 weeks went by since that day, and Ino had been too tired for the 5 days of those weeks to notice anything weird. But on her days off, she did notice something off with her father and the flower shop regulars, but didn't think too much of it. She was too busy paying attention to Naruto, who would visit the flower shop, so he could get more pointers about gardening. He also really wanted to learn how to heal plants, too. Ino didn't plan on teaching him medical ninjutsu, but she figured it would be a good refresher to teach him about the different types of plants. She would then go over to Naruto's place afterwards to see if he had bothered to try to eat any of the vegetables. To her no surprise but deep disappointment, he hadn't, so she went out of her way to teach him how to make a salad or a healthy drink that she would make for her diet. Naruto didn't want to consume anything she made, but Ino was terrifying when she was mad, so he forced himself to eat what she made. And to his surprise, he actually didn't mind eating the salad. Though some were watery, bitter, and/or dry, it wasn't all that bad. But for the healthy drink, he spit it out in the sink before he thought it would poison him. He saw Ino also struggling to keep it down, but she swallowed it whole. Women were definitely unreasonably strong was what Naruto thought. After all that, the two just chilled in his bedroom talking about random things like their favorite memories, colors, and even romance. Ino also figured that she should help him get ready for the next hint. It was a challenge like usual to tutor him, but Naruto eventually got the hang of the information given to him. He then figured that he should treat her to dinner as a thank you for helping him out and for the other day. Ino questioned if he could afford it, which insulted the boy, but he quickly became discouraged when he remembered that girls were expensive. Ino did prefer a nice place, but it wasn't like Naruto was her boyfriend, so she settled for a modest restaurant. Ichiraku's was too fattening after all. Naruto was relieved, and the two enjoyed their time together there. Ino couldn't help having fun when Naruto told her his funny stories where he got himself in embarrassing situations. Naruto also found himself pulled in by the stories that Ino had of Sakura and dished out what the pink-haired girl's likes, dislikes and hobbies were. Why did you two stop being friends anyway? He had to ask. Ino, who felt like swinging with the fun mood, answered, it was so we could become rivals of love and ninja. Sakura doesn't know that I can't be with Sasuke since I never told her, and when she said that we should end our friendship so we could fight for him, I never bothered to tell her. Quote, how come? Naruto liked Sakura, but he couldn't help thinking that what she did was just the worst. He was someone who wished he had friends, and Ino wasn't exactly at the top of his list, but he'd cherish her. Because I didn't want to discourage her. Ino reminisced the first time they met. You don't know Naruto since the girls and boys were separated at the beginning of the academy, but Sakura was bullied by the girls because she had a big forehead. Quote, what? Naruto was furious by that. Ino nodded as she took a sip of her drink. It's true. She would run off crying, and try to cover it with her hair, but that just made her look weird. Now don't get me wrong. I didn't approach her because I pitied her. I noticed her at first because of her name. As a gardener, it's hard not to be fascinated with someone with a name of a flower, and when those girls bullied her, I was annoyed by how she just ran away. So I approached her to teach her some confidence, and I started with giving her a ribbon. Ribbon? You mean that red ribbon that Sakura used to wear came from you? Yup. It made her look cute, didn't it? Quote, the cutest. To be honest with you, I never really noticed her high forehead. All I could think was that she had the cutest face. I know, right? That's what I thought when I saw her. But no matter how cute, Sakura was really shy when we were young, and still struggled to fight against her bull. Lies, so I had to step in and save her. She was glad when I would do that, but she would get jealous, too. She wanted to be a great kunoichi, but just couldn't find the edge to inspire her. But then when the boys and girls classes got mixed, Sakura saw Sasuke and instantly fell in love. When she heard that I liked him, too, I guess she just couldn't let herself lose anymore. Through Sasuke, she was inspired to stop being a complete crybaby and make something of herself, so he could pay attention to her. And as her friend, I was hurt when she ended things with us, but I understood. I want Sakura to bloom, and if that means being a complete bitch to her, then I can't complain. Naruto's eyes lit up when he heard that. He still thought that what Sakura did was wrong, but he understood her, too. He understood why she would want to try to impress Sasuke. He was doing that, too. And he guessed that Sakura was also doing what she could to win against and impress Ino. That just fired up Naruto more to try his best with her. He felt his cheeks flushed when he could vividly imagine Sakura's cute face. Ino saw his goofy expression, and teased him. Naruto couldn't help smiling while feeling embarrassed. After dinner, Naruto walked Ino home. While they were, Naruto complained about the boring missions they were given by the Hokage. After being trained silly by their sensei, just going through the mundane missions felt like a waste of time. Ino couldn't help agreeing. They then end up mocking their sensei, which had them laughing. While they were doing this, they were unaware of the stares that they were getting. Especially from certain trios. The first was Inoni, Shikamaru and Choji, who were taking a walk to Choji's place to see his new games. They were all deeply surprised when they saw them. "Whoa," Choji said, "are the rumors true after all?" Quote, Shikamaru uncharacteristically answered without hesitation, "No way. They're teammates. It's only natural that they'd be hanging out together." His voice still sounded lazy, but there was a bit of negative energy in the background. "Without Emo Prince?" Inoni questioned. "I mean, there's no way the rumors are true, but something's been off with sis." "Off?" Choji inquired. "It's a thing only women can understand, but nothing to concern yourself about. And I ain't one to believe rumors, so none of my business to snoop. Unless there's someone here who is jealous." She grinned cheekily at Shikamaru, who scowled and rejected her unspoken assumption. The second trio was Kiba with Akamaru, Hinata and Shino, who were just done with dinner. "No way. Is that Ino and Naruto?" Kiba cried out in deep surprise. Shino observed, "It appears so. But it's only natural that they be together." "Why?" "Because they are teammates, and it's only natural that they would try to strengthen their bond. As for their third member, yeah, Sasuke is a loner, so there's no way the rumors are true." Kiba figured. Despite saying that, Hinata frowned at the sight of Naruto enjoying Ino's bright company. The complete opposite of her company. Kiba then remembered about her feelings. "Oh right, don't you have a crush on that Naruto guy?" Hinata looked down. Shino answered, "Of course, she does. But right now, we should be concentrating to level our skills for any danger or when the Chunin exams begin." Quote, "Sheesh. We just became Genin. And you're already aiming to be a Chunin?" Kiba couldn't believe this guy. The serious male replied, "The sooner we prepare ourselves, then the sooner we'll be recognized for our efforts." Quote, at those words, Hinata thought she was being comforted for a second as they walked on, and Kiba still thought the guy was weird. The third one was Sakura and her team. Shanaru. They totally are dating. Sakura cheered since that meant that she had more of a chance to get Sasuke. She was the culprit who began spreading the rumors. "Oi, enough with your gossiping." Her teammate, who was usually cold and strict since she was the leader of the team, scolded Sakura. "We need you to concentrate on memorizing the mission details that we're telling you. You better make sure to study up the landmarks for the village that we're heading to. Also work on your genjutsu." Her other teammate, who was pretty lazy but was a natural at performing ninjutsu tricks and traps, reminded Sakura. The pink-haired girl complained, I know. You two aren't my parents, you know." Quote. Both of them looked back at her. The strict one glowered while the lazy one frowned as they said in unison, "And who was it exactly who couldn't defend herself?" Sakura grimaced at the memory of when their team was just heading to a village to help out an old couple move some stuff. A trio of rogue ninjas attacked them for information. Her teammates and their sensei were able to take them down, but their sensei got injured due to protecting Sakura. The girl felt guilty for that, but she really was trying her best to make up for that. _____. No. I can't take this anymore. I want to do, a more incredible mission. Find us a better one. Naruto was so done with the mundane missions. They just made him feel lazy before the real training with Kakashi, and he just couldn't do that anymore. He needed to be challenged. Sasuke and Ino definitely agreed, having felt the same. Kakashi inwardly sighed, having known that this would eventually happen. The Hokage lectured them about how the whole mission ranks worked, and what a great benefit they were for the village, but the pre-teens weren't bothering to listen, especially Naruto, yelling out that he wasn't the same kid he was before. And after discovering what sick humor Kakashi had, he truly did feel like he was a new man after surviving that and coping with it. Somehow his whining got the Hokage to give them a C-rank mission, which led to them protecting Tazuna. A drunk bridge building expert who didn't waste time on getting on Naruto's short temper. Shortly after that, they packed up for the mission and set off to the wave country that Kakashi explained was not a shinobi country, but it didn't mean it was ruled over by other countries filled with shinobi. It simply stood on its own without being interfered with by the other countries that held grand military power and owned a Kage who was represented as the strongest among ninjas. Ino already knew about the Kage part since her clan was close to the Sarutobi clan, but it was hard to believe that the old man would still be considered the strongest ninja in the village at his age. But there used to be a fourth after all, so it can't be helped that he was still the Hokage. Suddenly out of nowhere, ninjas from the Mist Village attacked Kakashi with their chains and tore him to pieces. Ino froze for a second before her heart leapt when they appeared behind Naruto. Sasuke sprung into action, and that woke Ino up to get Tazuna behind her for protection. Sasuke was able to successfully remove their chains, but the two still went on the attack. One went after Naruto while the other headed for Ino. Ino threw two kunai with an explosive tag, and pushed Tazuna back to not be hurt by it. The two mist ninjas were struck before either of them could lay a hand. It still didn't keep them down though, but Kakashi arrived to keep them that way. The one that got hurt turned out to be an illusion. He apologized to Naruto for not helping him out since he didn't expect him to remain frozen. He went on to praise Sasuke and Ino. Naruto was still feeling shocked by his first true battle experience outside of the village. He looked on to Sasuke to recognize how far more competent his rival was compared to him even after all that hard training they did together. Sasuke didn't make it any better with his taunt, "You alright, mister? Scaredy cat." Ino lightly scolded him, "Don't mock him, Sasuke. It's the first time we've been attacked by a real threat besides Sensei. It's only natural that we'd be taken by surprise." Sasuke still smirked. Naruto was seriously going to burst, but Kakashi ordered him to save it for later, and to keep still because of the scratch he got from the ninja's poisonous claws. Ino looked at his wound to identify the poison since she was very knowledgeable of several deadly poisons that would be concocted by place ants. She saw that the cut and poison were minor, so he had him squeeze the blood out. While she had him do that, Kakashi got down to what was really happening. Turns out their guy was being targeted for some reason, which made their C mission turn into a B mission. Something that was too much for the genins to handle. Ino and Sasuke looked to each other to figure out whether they should go back to the village. They weren't prepared for such a mission, but Sasuke wanted the challenge. Ino was apprehensive, but at the moment, she couldn't really imagine the danger, so was more against the decision. She didn't want to dive into the mundane missions or Kakashi's strict training too soon. However, the two of them and Kakashi looked to Naruto, and their sensei figured that they should go back. Naruto gritted his teeth at the blatant lack of faith they all had in him. He squeezed his hand harder to get the blood out, but how slowly it flowed irritated him more as his mind descended deeper and deeper into rage for his shortcomings. He trained so hard, and yet he was completely useless to his teammates, and actually needed saving. Ino noticed how hard his grip was. Naruto. At the sound of Ino's voice, Naruto quickly remembered how he utterly failed to be there for her during their first survival training, and then began remembering how hard he worked to act as a teammate for her and for Sasuke. It was true that he froze up on their first real battle, but he wasn't the type to make the same mistake twice when it came to his team. He promised himself that, "Hey." He smiled. "I'm alright. You don't have to worry about me." He stared determinedly at their sensei. I was just spooked. That's all. But I swear that I'm not gonna let that happen again. You hear me? We're continuing this mission whether you like it or not. I'll protect this old man with my life if I have to. Everyone stared at him, and the males then noticed how hard he was squeezing his hand to get the blood out. They were taken a bit aback by his determination, but it almost convinced their sensei to have the mission continue. Kakashi then teased Naruto about how he was going to suffer from blood loss if he squeezed any harder, which completely panicked the idiot. Ino smacked him to calm down, and then began properly cleaning the wound. She saw it heal, which was nothing new to her, but she still bandaged it up since healed wounds were still sensitive. Afterwards, Tazuna told them about how building the bridge was meant to help his country's freedom and economy, but that would get in the way of a shipping magnate. He then gave a sob story that guilt-tripped Kakashi into doing the mission after all.